Good evening. Welcome to the August 5th, 2026 meeting of the Oceanside City Council. This is a new day with respect to how we handle and go through council meetings, because we are going to be incorporating more public input via remote. We do not have any general items, so that's not going to be as big of an issue for us for today, but certainly the next council meetings we will. But we'll go ahead and start with roll call, please.
Mayor Sanchez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Joyce.
Present.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Present.
Councilmember Robinson. And Councilmember Weiss has an excused absence tonight.
Did you excuse it? No. All right, we're going to start with the invocation. Please rise for that. And tonight we have Father Charles Wright from Prince of Peace Abbey. Thank you, Father Charles.
Let us pray. Divine giver of all that we have and all that we are, we put ourselves in your presence tonight, seeking the wisdom, the counsel, and the courage to address the concerns that we face. We are grateful for the gifts you have bestowed upon us and the wisdom to deal with the many necessities that face this fine city. We hold up to you those who dedicate their lives to guiding it, Mayor Sanchez and City Council, protecting it, the police, the paramedics, and the military, ever so present and ever so faithful. So with the deepest gratitude, we seek all these in your divine name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilmember Figueroa, would you do us the honor?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our city clerk, Mr. Zeb Navarro.
Thank you. The California legislature passed Senate Bill 707, modernizing the Brown Act by expanding public access requiring hybrid or Zoom meetings for city council meetings and codifying teleconferencing and accessibility rules. As part of these new rules, members of the public wishing to comment on agenda items may do so in person or remotely by logging on to the Zoom meeting identified on the agenda. In-person speakers will be called first, followed by remote speakers. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for their comments unless otherwise stated by the mayor. Speakers must submit a speaker slip before consent calendar items are called. This does not apply to public hearing items. You could submit a speaker slip at the kiosk in the back or online. You could also email cityclerk@oceansideca.org. For in-person comments, when called to speak, please approach the next available podium and state your name and location for the record. For remote comments, speakers will be called upon either by name or last 4 digits of your phone number. Please unmute yourself by dialing *6 on your phone and state your name and location for the record. For public hearing items, please use the raise hand feature by dialing *9. Please remember that the City of Oceanside has a decorum policy in place. Willful disruptions of the proceedings will not be tolerated. If you are disruptive, you will be asked to leave the chambers, or for online participants, removed from the Zoom session. We ask that you respect the proceedings and treat everyone with respect.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and do the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Payom-Kawichim, the people of the West, as the traditional land caretakers of the land on which Oceanside is built and its surrounding traditional cultural landscapes. Today, the Payom-Kawichim are known as Luiseño and are made up of 7 bands. La Jolla, Palapama, Pachanga, Rincon, San Luis Rey, and Saboba. We are mindful of the indigenous peoples in this place, and we pay our respects to the Luiseno, past, present, and emerging. We are grateful to have the opportunity to be part of this community in Luiseno territory and to honor their history, culture, and perseverance of spirit. Thank you. On to our proclamations and presentations. Tonight we have a presentation, actually a couple of presentations. First one we're going to start with is by Waste Management on cleanup days.
Recyclable?
All right. Madam Mayor, Honorable Council, esteemed city staff, thank you so much for having us tonight. We're here for a brief, fun update and just to introduce the team. As some of you already know me, my name is Daniel Butler. I am the Territory Manager for WM. I oversee our partnership in the City of Oceanside. A couple folks who aren't in the room tonight, we have Cesar Mariscal. He's our District Manager of Operations. He and his team pick up all the stuff. They do the important work in the city. Elise Weatherall, some of you may know her from her time in the city. She is our contract manager for the franchise agreement. Tonight you're gonna hear some words like partnership, community, engagement, collaboration. These are all things that are extremely important to WM, and we know they're also very important to the city. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring up the stars of the show. They're our community liaisons, and they're gonna walk you through it.
Honorable Sanchez, City Council, and Oceanside. Hello, everyone. On behalf of my team and myself, I want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to come introduce ourselves and share a little bit of how we support the Oceanside community. My name is Jesus Alberto Aramburo, and I am one of the 3 community liaisons for the city, dedicated solely to the city of Oceanside. Oceanside is a thriving business community with over 2,700 businesses, and each year the Oceanside team, here respectively, conduct site visits to each one of them. So far this year, we've done over 1,300 businesses, and we are on pace to meet our goal at the end of 2026. During each of these site visits, we meet with property managers, business owners, and we conduct evaluations on their waste streams. During these site visits, we look at their landfill, recycle, green waste, and their food waste. And after we've conducted those assessments, we meet with them, we let them know our observations, and from there we answer any questions that they may have, and we provide educational materials. But most importantly, I think where our team prides itself is that we provide practical solutions for the properties and the multifamily properties and their businesses that are tailored specifically to each of their needs. But our support doesn't just stop there. What we do is we also go back if they invite us, and we'd like to do presentations to them that are tailored specifically to recycling right practices, diverting of materials, specifically on where to go on each waste stream, and just the reduction of contamination that we could see ultimately in a lot of our containers. But that's our goal. And our goal is to make it easy and simple for any business or multifamily property to be able to make these decisions on their own by providing all these educations and support from our team. And that's just one small part of what we do out in the community of Oceanside. And up next, my colleague will be providing a little bit more in context of how we get involved in the community. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Cynthia, and community involvement is one of the best ways to help people improve their recycling and waste habits. And through partnerships, community events, and public outreach, WM works with residents and businesses to support a cleaner, more sustainable Oceanside. WM partners with City of Oceanside, Oceanside Chamber of Commerce, Main Street Oceanside, KOCT, local nonprofit organizations, and student groups such as the Oceanside Interact High School Club, who was very helpful last night at National Night Out, which was very successful. Love that event. And these partnerships help spread information about recycling and reducing waste. And community events also give us a chance to speak to people face-to-face, answer their questions, and share with them more information about other diversion programs that might benefit them. We also engage the community through compost facility tours, educational videos, and public service announcements. This year, WM participated in or supported over 15 community events with more planned throughout the year. One of the most popular activities at our outreach booths is the sorting game. And participants test their knowledge by determining what goes in the trash, recycling, and organics containers. So if you see WM out there at a special event, stop on by and let's test your sorting knowledge. So WM's working with the City of Oceanside and coordinating the 4 community cleanup events in each of the 4 council districts. To date, we've completed 2 of them that attracted 250 participants and over 60 tons of material collected. Our next community cleanup event is scheduled for August 15th from 8 a.m. to noon at Miracosta College.
A este momento me gustaría practicar mi español con todos y invitar a toda la comunidad hispanohablante a que vengan a visitarnos a nuestro evento para limpiar, que es colaboración entre la ciudad de Oceanside y nosotros con WM. Vengan a desalojar sus artículos que ya no desean, especialmente sus gabinetes grandes. También tenemos destrucción de documentos disponible para sus documentos importantes. Y aparte, muy importante, parte que me gusta a mí es que hay artículos para donación. También estamos con Goodwill, que va a estar presente ahí. Esto va a tomar en cuenta el sábado 15 de agosto en el Colegio de Miracosta, en la calle 1 Bernard Drive de Oceanside. Gracias. And now I'm going to be introducing my next colleague that will be focusing on education. Sorry for the quick shift on.
Good evening, my name is Jenna Rorapon. I'm the 3rd member of this community liaison team, and I just want to reiterate that we are dedicated solely to the City of Oceanside. As mentioned through our site visits and through our community events, there's a variety of educational materials that have been created, and they are created through in many different languages, including Spanish, as you heard from Jesus. And they are in collaboration with the City of Oceanside through the annual education plan. I know I could get those words out. These are targeted materials to different sectors of our community. We've targeted materials for residents, including multifamily residents. So we have single family and multifamily residents. We have developed some move-in kits that are available. You'll see these recycling bags along with the magnets and guides, as well as the kitchen pails to help property managers educate their tenants. We also have commercial tools that are specifically for our commercial site visits, including the What Goes Where poster. We have labels that go on Slim Jims to assist employees, and we use those to make it as easy as possible for our businesses to sort and divert their materials. We've also created some vacation rental kits and some educational kiosks throughout the community to help our visitors. We know we have some ever-growing number of visitors in our wonderful city, and we want them to know that recycling is important to the City of Oceanside. We're a zero-waste city, and as you all know, and that we just want to spread that education when they come to visit us here in Oceanside. One of the great things we did in this year's education plan was to work with KOCT to develop some videos. We have a multi-family training video that we can share for onboarding new tenants for our property managers. And then we also did some public service announcements. And every time we do these videos, we try to utilize our our community members. And we have this wonderful PSA we'd like to show you with one of our young Oceansiders, Bella.
Recyclable? What about this? There's so many kinds of plastics here.
Hey, if you've ever felt confused about plastics, you're not alone.
But here's the good news.
There's one simple rule that can clear things up fast. Rigid plastic,
Recycle it in your blue bin.
squishy plastic like film or plastic bags.
Trash it in your gray bin.
If the plastic holds its shape on its own, it's considered rigid, and it is accepted in WM recycling. Think water bottles, detergent jugs, cups and tubs, and most hard plastic packaging. Just make sure they're empty, dry, and loose. But if the plastic is soft, squishy, stretchy, or crinkly, it does not belong in your blue recycling part. That includes plastic grocery bags, bread bags, plastic wrap, snack wrappers, bubble wrap, produce bags, and zip-top bags.
So squishy plastic goes in the trash?
Exactly. These flimsy plastics jam recycling machines. They can shut down a whole facility. Check with your local grocery store to drop off clean grocery bags if available.
Okay, that's actually easy. Don't forget about the rule breakers. These go in the trash.
Yep. Remember, if it's rigid, it's recyclable. If it's squishy, it's trash.
Let's recycle right, Oceanside.
And we just want to say thank you to KOCT because their team over there and Carly Starr were great to work with. So it was wonderful. And we're really happy with the finished product. So thank you again for your time. And we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So next we do have Lynn Mulheron from UEI College. Lynn is the Vice President of Government Relations.
Yes, thank
UEI.
you. Thank you so much, Mayor and council members. It's great to be with you here this evening, representing UEI College in Oceanside. And if you weren't aware, UEI is one of 13 locations in California. Right here in Oceanside, we have one. And our automotive technology program is offering a free community car care event coming up on August the 19th from 11 to 4 at our campus. And so as everybody's getting ready for the school year, we'd love for Oceanside residents to drive through and get their cars inspected, ready for the school year, not only from the automobile perspective, but also from a child's car seat safety perspective. We have the California Highway Patrol coming in to help us with that, or to actually run that part of our free community day. So please come out and visit us. We would love to have you. Our students are overseen by the automotive instructors. And so, they will be providing 14-point inspections, basic things. They won't be repairing your car, but they will be helping you to understand exactly what what's going well with your car and what might need some attention, things like oil and tires, those kinds of things. And the students love to practice. This is a part of their training. They have hands-on training, and so this is a great way for them to learn differently and interact with the community as they're going to be doing in their roles in the future as they get hired. And the teachers are there to oversee everything as well. So we'd love to have you come. We have a couple of lanes that'll be right behind the college. And so you just come right through between 11 and 4. But if you want your car seat to be inspected, come between 11 and 1, because the California Highway Patrol will only be there from 11 to 1. And Mayor, I know you were at our last community car care
That was a lot of
event.
fun. Loved interacting with the kids,
We
with
loved
the students.
Yes, and they loved interacting with you. They enjoy serving and learning. So
Yes.
thanks for
Well,
participating.
Thank you so much. Again, that is Checking Under the Hood for free 2 Wednesdays, so 2 weeks from today at
Right.
UEI College here in
Yes.
Oceanside, and
Yes.
it's 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yes, and I left some flyers in the back for anyone who's here, and you have a digital copy.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Lynn. And we actually have just a couple more minutes, and I thought I'd ask our Parks and Rec Director, Manny Gonzalez, to give us a quick update on Parks and Rec programming that we've been enjoying this summer.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. I wanted to share that with July just ending as Parks and Recreation Month, the theme was the power of Parks and Recreation. And we worked really hard as a team to put together as many events in collaboration with a lot of stakeholders in the community. These were free events to really celebrate our parks as gathering spaces, everything from art in the park to roller skating at MLK to our new teen night program that we're offering at Melba Bishop, as well as our mobile recreation program. We're very excited about the future of Parks and Recreation and the programs that we offer to all of our community. Some of the exciting things to come, like I mentioned, is our teen night program. This is a weekly event during the summer. On Friday nights, we bring together teens to do a different sport, and I want to acknowledge all of the groups that have come out to help us, everyone from Oceanside Breakers to our NFL flag provider to Coastal Academy and the Ocean Valley Little League, as well as the Oceanside's Finest. So we had a sport for the kids to play each week. We had activities like rock climbing, a game truck, and VR. And then we had a craft like decorating tote bags and doing tie-dye socks. So lots of things for the teens to do. We had our police department also participated. So great opportunity for them to come out and play with the teens and develop some great relationships. We have one more event at Melba Bishop this coming Friday. We also serve free dinner during these events. So we'll be having Hawaiian barbecue for the teens. And then the event closes out at Libby Lake Park next Friday. And we'll be doing soccer at a new mini pitch as well. So I encourage everybody to join us. This is for 6th to 12th graders, but we don't turn any youth away. And then I also wanted to share, we have our Love It music block concerts in the park coming up that we've partnered with the Oceanside Cultural Arts Foundation and the library and a lot of different departments to put on these free concerts. They'll start on September 12th at Mance Buchanan, and it's 2 concerts at Mance Buchanan, finishing off with 2 concerts at MLK through October 3rd. These are on Saturdays from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Completely free concerts with a different genre of music every week. So encourage folks to join us, and lots of things to come in Parks and Recreation.
Great. Thank you very much, Manny. Thank you. All right, closed session report. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council met earlier today in closed session on several items. First, item 1, conference with labor negotiator on pending labor negotiations involving 5 units, OPOA non-sworn, management employees, City of Oceanside, Oceanside City Employees Association, Management Safety Employees Association, and Western Council of Engineers. No reportable action on any of those deliberations at this time. Also met on item 2, several litigation pending and potential. 2A, pending workers' compensation matters involving Mike Taylor versus City of Oceanside. Deliberation and direction, but no reportable action at this time. Item 2B, one case involving threat of litigation received July 11, 2026. Again, direction provided, but no reportable action at this time. And then 2 cases of facts and circumstances not yet known to potential plaintiffs, no reportable action at this time.
All right, thank you. Next is our consent calendar item. And do we have any requests to speak?
Yeah, we have a request to pull items 14, 20, and 21.
Move approval of the balance.
I'd like to pull 16, just for a comment. I don't need any report or anything on it.
Okay, so there is a motion to approve the balance. Is there a second? Second. All right, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Now, this included anyone remotely wishing to address.
That is correct.
All right. So you indicated 14, right? 14 is staff recommends City Council adopt a resolution approving final map for the Grace Street Development Project. And who would like to speak on that? Jose Cruz. Mr. Cruz?
Hello, my name is Jose Cruz. I live at 2221 Saratoga Street. I think that developing Oceanside obviously needs development, but this particular spot is home of burrowing owl. Burrowing owls are endangered. Unlike most owls, they hunt during the day, and they also, instead of living in trees, they live underground. I also noticed during the application there was no environmental report. I just want to make that make council aware so that a proper environmental report can be done and these owls can be relocated. Thank you.
Thank you. Adopting a resolution approving final map is mostly a procedural. It's not really intended to open up all the issues with respect to the planning. So this is a final map, and we'll go ahead and, is there a motion to approve? Okay, is there a second? All right, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. Item number 16, and this is a really nice item. Staff recommends City Council accept $15,000 in grant funds from AARP for the purpose and for the purchase and installation of outdoor fitness equipment at Libby Lake Park, and that is to appropriate the grant funds and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to comment because I go to the Libby Lake, try to go to the Libby Lake meetings that they have once a month, and I was at the last one, and this came up, and I can just tell you the neighborhood's very excited about this, and thank you to AARP for the grant money, and just let's expedite getting the gear in. Thank you. I'll move the item.
Great. So there's a motion to approve,
I have a question.
and there's a second, and Councilmember Figueroa.
Yeah, just a question for staff. One, this is exciting because I know when we were talking about the futsal, this was one of the options pre-futsal, like, can we do a workout area or a futsal court? And I think the community was like, oh, we want it all, right? Do we know where it's going to be located at the park? Will it be back by the logs by Livy Elementary or?
It's the excess property that is owned by the city. Jonathan, Spirigo? Oh, okay.
I think your mic's on. Your mic.
My apologies, Councilmember Figueroa. To answer your question, the way that we're able to have this equipment installed with the limited grant funds that we've received is to place it in existing hardscapes. So we're going to look at what area makes the most sense in the existing park, probably around the playground and the gazebos, because we have quite a bit of hardscape in that area.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Exciting. Thank you. I'll second, or let's.
I think there was a motion in a second, right? All right, there's a motion second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. Item number 20. Staff recommends City Council approve Amendment 6 to the professional services agreement with Schmidt Design Group in the amount of $26,800 for a revised contract amount of $770,000 to perform additional design services for the Sepul Park, and that's the name that we have adopted for El Corazon Parkside 1, and authorize city manager to execute the amendment upon receipt of all supporting documents. Mr. Knott?
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Cherry Lane. Yes, I was asked by a citizen about this Sapul Park in the formerly Corazon Park site, and they were a little bit confused on this, and that the reading of this item itself. So I appreciated the mayor clarifying that. And in future, I would like to see at least some little bit better clarification so the public can understand when there's a referral to this, that it is referred into the item onto the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and move approval. Is there a second? All right, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. Item number 21, staff recommends City of Oceanside Community Development Commission, that is the council sitting as a CDC, authorize the closure of the Section 8 housing vouchers waiting list effective September 30th, 2026. And this is basically for all futures, not those that are on the waiting list right now remain on the waiting list. Mr. Knott?
Yes, Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Cherry Lane, and also I'm speaking as the senior representative, as I was elected back in 2018, people coming to me and asking me about different questions about this, because there are fears of abandonment that along the way. Number one, I thank you for the clarification that those people who are on the list will be maintained. However, there is questions as what does the city plan to do next? You know, for any future people that have difficulty in housing, what does the city plan? Is there a new format that's going to be replacing the Section 8 list? Is it a new type of format that, how do we plan to address the low income? Like as an example, what if one of our manufactured home communities with a park owner that decides to suddenly take with a senior community and closes that park? We may have a few elderly folks that may end up on the streets. How will we be handling that? Because they are low income. And if this is closed off, how are they going to be assisted? There are also other people in other communities besides a mobile home community that would have potentially problems. I would like to ask, how does the city approach this or plan to approach this in the future? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we do have staff here, and basically, this is a federal program, so the reason for the closure, and I've got Ms. Hines here, and we have Ray Roll.
Absolutely. This
Yes.
is Housing Program
And,
Manager Ray
and
Rule.
specific to the item, okay?
Yeah.
Because that's what's being, that is what has been agendized and noticed.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor
Thank you.
and council members. Raymond Rule, Housing Program Manager. I just want to emphasize that the closure will not impact the 5,013 families currently on the wait list, and all active participants will retain their placement, dates, and local preferences.
Right.
The closure of the wait list is a proactive administrative step to align our program expenditures with our fixed federal funding allocation.
Strictly federal program.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This does not, we are going to have open project-based voucher wait lists. We're going to be issuing releases for the new construction of the 124 PBV units that are under construction now.
Right.
The purpose of closing the wait list is, we've had the same federal funding for years now. The formula hasn't changed, and rents have increased, as everyone's noticed. Rental assistance has increased, and we're trying to manage the expectations of the folks that are on the wait list, folks that will sign on to the wait list, to understand that there is a backlog of over 5,000 applicants on the list. Section 8 is not going away. It's still going to be fairly active, and we're also going to have some project-based units also coming on.
There's also, other cities have had to do the same thing.
Yes.
So that has put even a higher burden on the City of Oceanside, and we're not able to move that list either.
That's correct, Mayor. All public housing authorities in the county, in the San Diego region, have closed their list. The most recent is
Encinitas.
Encinitas just closed their list. We remain the only housing choice voucher program that has an open waiting list. What that means is we already have 5,000 persons on that waiting list. With an open waiting list, we take in daily persons coming in to our offices to get on that waiting list. So while it's 5,000 today, it quickly starts to add up day after day as we keep that list open.
And the annualized expenditures are $30 million, almost $31 million, leaving a balance of only $517,000. And there's not a whole lot that you can do with that because of the higher rents in the coastal area, correct?
Yes.
So we do have a few vouchers, but we're not able to use them. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes. We have an allocation of vouchers, but we have to be able to fund them. And at this point, we're able to fund the around 1,400 vouchers that are in play now.
All right. And Ms. Hines, did you want to show us
So this just represents the
graph?
budget that we have available and shows how much affordable housing is needed and the demand for this type of program. We've seen a 46% increase in what we are paying. So as a housing authority, for example, in 2025, our housing assistance payment that the Oceanside Housing Authority pays for each household is close to $1,800 a month. We have over 1,300 participants. So you'll see that 30.7 million is what we are paying every year annually in housing assistance payments.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor has a question.
Just before you go on to the next part, this requires that participants pay a portion of their rent as well, so their full rent is even more than this.
Their full rent is even more than this. The Section 8 program is by far the best program for those that are on fixed income because we only require that households pay 30% of their actual income. And so if the rent is, $3,000 a month, they pay the 30% of what their income is. And for some of our residents, they're only making the average income we have for our participants is about $27,000 a year. So they pay very little towards their rent, and then the city makes up the difference. And because of this increase, this is why we're not able to utilize the full voucher amount. There's a disconnect between our voucher capacity and what we're being given by the feds.
Right. Did you have any other questions?
Yeah, comments and questions.
Comments?
You want me to wait or you?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
We have to move on.
How many total vouchers does the federal government give us? I know that we can't use them all, but do you know how many they assign to us?
1,600.
Okay. And then you already answered, like, the typical user, the average user is at $27,000 per year. So does that include a lot of folks that are disabled, that have other limitations on their ability to work?
I believe about
68% of our households are disabled and senior.
Okay, I just want to be super clear with folks, like, this is who, the people that have these vouchers, the people that
These are the
need
most
these vouchers.
vulnerable I like to call this program a homeless prevention program because I don't know very many folks who are making $27,000 and can live in the Southern California market on that type of rent. So without this program, they would be homeless.
And presumably, some of the people that are on that list are homeless now because they are not able to access these vouchers.
That could be.
How fast are we able to undo this should the federal government decide to step up and do what they're supposed to do?
Reopen the wait list if,
Yeah.
we have the discretion to reopen the wait list, but it's really dependent upon rent stabilizing. Our federal, the federal money that comes in increases, so that's really to be determined.
So this is another like unforeseen effect when rents for everybody go up. Rents for HCV users are also going up, and it eats into this program more and more. And you said that other cities have done it. What other options do cities take? And I know that we're not looking at it right now, but what other options do they take to utilize their funds? Is there any other options for maybe requiring people to pay more of their rent, or are there other options that are available that other cities have tried to make these funds go further?
So the City of Oceanside Housing Authority is a traditional housing authority. So, we have to follow the federal regulations when it comes to the housing choice voucher strictly. So the formula is basically 30% of your adjusted monthly income goes to rent. We can't increase that number with the requirement because we don't have that latitude. So we're following the regulation strictly.
So you may have heard in the news about the Housing Commission. As they closed their wait list, they took a number of actions, such as increasing the tenant portion. San Diego Housing Commission is a different type of entity. They are moving to work agency. There's only a few nationwide. And when you're moving to work agency, you have the flexibility of going a little bit above and beyond. They like to call themselves, they're the test case for the federal program. So they have that latitude. But as a regular traditional housing authority, we don't. We have to comply with the rules as they are.
And do you know how many Oceansiders would qualify for the HCV, just if we looked at the income? Do we have any idea?
Probably quite a bit. I think when I last looked at some of our demographics, say, for example, we've got 17,000 renters, lower income renters. All those lower income renters at 80% or below qualify for the program. Vast majority of them pay more than 30% of their income towards rent. Probably around the 70% mark of those residents pay more than 30%. Probably as you get to the lower levels like this, 70% of those households are paying more than 50%. So there's a huge demand for the program.
And that's what's called extremely rent burden, right?
Extremely rent burden, yes.
Yeah, and the requirement to be eligible for the Housing Choice Program is being at or below 50% AMI, which is for a family of four at or below $87,450
for the household.
87,450. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any more questions. Thank you so much.
And as to, there are over 5,000 applicants on the list right now. Have you been able to move that list at all in the last couple of years?
The last time we pulled from the wait list was January 2024.
That's what I recall in the staff report. Right. Thank you. Councilmember Robinson?
Thank you. How many years have we been capped at that 1,600 vouchers?
There hasn't been much movement in the formula for our the amount of money that we get on a calendar year.
Yeah, I think we received 3 vouchers in the last, probably since I've been here.
Which has been
that's
how long?
5 years.
I'm sorry, I should know.
So the last 5 years, we've only received authority for 3 more vouchers. But again, even if we have the authority, the dollar amount that they give us, given the rents that we're seeing.
But I mean, that 1,600 number, we've been at that or close to that for a long time.
For a very, very long time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, did you have another question?
I have no questions, comments.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and move approval. This is regarding the closure of the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher waiting list, which, again, will keep people that are on there, and that's 5,013. They will still be on the waiting list. Deputy Mayor?
So I just really quickly want to state, this is a symptom of a system that desperately needs updating. Not only does the federal government need to step up to meet the need of people who are renting and living in extreme poverty because they're forced to pay more than 50% of their monthly income to rent, but there also needs to be reforms on the way that we keep landlords from raising those rents arbitrarily when they have HCVs. That's one of the drivers of why their rent goes up so fast. Just interesting to note that we do have a housing assistance broadly in our country. We do have it for homeowners as well. The homeowner subsidies are largely open-ended, and they total about $90 billion a year. Some of those go to folks who are buying their second home. The federal assistance for renters is rationed through these annual budgets, and as you can see, we are making impossible decisions to not get people housed that could become homelessness because of the rationing that is done by the federal government. And the annual budget for this is about $36 billion, so it's not even half. As a result, most eligible homeowners claim the benefit, whereas we are leaving people possibly in the street. And it's a devastating reality. I will support the motion tonight, and I would ask that we, I'd ask my colleagues to permit me to draft a letter, perhaps, that we could send to our federal representatives, demonstrating the need for revisions to this program to meet the need of our local people.
Okay, so was there a second? Second. Okay, there's a motion and a second, and I can go ahead and do that as it's part of what we do. So I'll go ahead and do that on behalf of the City Council. All right, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. Under general items, we did have an item 25, which has been removed by staff at the request of the OTMD Owners Association. All right, we still have a few minutes left before 6 o'clock, time certain. So let's start with Richard Ernst, Downtown Buildings.
Madam Mayor, just a point of information before we move on. I was asking if I could draft one that could be brought back to the council so that it could be on the council agenda.
It's a policy thing that we do. I submit them on behalf of the council. I've been doing that. It's a matter of the mayor doing it. So
this one I would be asking for the full council to sign it.
It was actually, I think we're fine. Mr. Ernst?
Good evening.
You got 5 minutes.
Thank you. I've been a resident of Oceanside for 34 years. Half of my life I've spent here. I've raised my son here. He was born here, went to school. Chris McAuliffe is a wonderful school. I just want to say that for one thing, and teachers there. I'm bothered a lot by seeing how many new housing units are going in and the height of them here downtown, how much has been approved. From what I'm reading, there's about 2,000 additional units in this specific area. I live about 1 mile from here and have in that complex for over 20 years. I'm just shocked at how much you're allowing to be. I mean, right up here at the top of the hill, near Harbor Freight, tearing out 2 little houses and an empty lot, putting it 6 or 7 story building, I think it is, and somewhere around 300 units. The biggest problem of it is the congestion, the traffic. I walk down here. I don't even drive my vehicle anymore. I can drive, I'm okay, but I don't even do it. I took it off registration and everything. But anyway, I don't see how all the additional cars, I'm one of the rare people I know that walks or takes public transit. And I do. I take Coaster, I take Metrolink, I take Sprinter, I take buses. Anyway, I just, all the building, they're going to tear down where I banked for 20 odd years, PNC right up the hill there, North County Transit, those are going to be giant. And it's almost, what I've read, is it all going to be apartment units just about that's going to be going in? Are you familiar? Does anyone know?
I'm sorry, your question again? We can answer it after you finish speaking. But what is your question again?
All these units that they're going to be putting in down here and down by the pier, I walk down there almost every evening. Are they going to be predominantly, at least, apartment units? Are you going to have, there's not going to be any hotels, which makes a lot more sense than putting an apartment unit. I know that's a limited, you have to have builders wanting to build, but that brings in much more revenue, I'm sure, for the city than having all the apartment units. I completely disagree with allowing that much. The traffic's already bad here. A friend of mine was going to Sunset Market a couple weeks ago. It took him an hour and a half to find a parking space, and his wife is not able to do a lot of walking, and and they even have handicaps, I believe, in their car that they can park in. They couldn't find a parking spot on Thursday evening. How do you expect that all the additional cars, and how many of them are going to do like I do, right, public transit? I don't think there's going to be many. And where are they going to shop? The only two markets that I know of are Grocery Outlet and El Super up the hill. I shop there almost exclusively. And there's none in the downtown area. They're not going to probably be building any. I don't understand where that's going. What about in an emergency? If there's an earthquake, a tsunami, how are you going to get thousands of people? If there's around 2,000 units, that's probably 4,000 people, more or less. I'm just flabbergasted that there's going to be that much building going in here. Anyway, I've seen it. During COVID, I couldn't even go walk on the beach. I had COVID so bad I almost died from it. The only place I could get fresh air was at the beach. And they shut down the beach and the harbor. They wouldn't let the boats go out. Cases like that, I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, is this timer for me here?
Yes, you've got,
all right.
Winding down.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please
So we do
answer.
have staff that could answer the basic question of why we have so much higher density residential downtown. I think I saw Oscar. Well, I could ask our city manager too.
Explain to the people.
Yeah, okay, our city manager's going to.
Yeah, Honorable.
He was paying attention. No, not really.
Honorable Mayor and Council members, I'll address some of the comments that were made. First and foremost, the downtown plan and the plans for downtown have been on the books for several years. So the growth that's currently occurring in downtown is essentially, was generally anticipated and has been anticipated for a number of years. I will say, though, however, one thing that has changed fundamentally, and Oceanside is certainly not alone, and I think even if you read some of the recent articles that have been in the news these last couple of weeks, the state has imposed several mandates upon cities to not only plan for a large number of housing units based on different factors. So we do have housing targets that we have to meet as a city. No city in California is exempt from that law. And in addition to that, in order to incentivize this housing being built, the state has passed several laws that essentially strips much of our approval authority from the city to otherwise regulate this growth. And that's what I'm referring to. I think the cities of Carlsbad, I think maybe Encinitas and maybe La Mesa, I believe, were all in the news recently because essentially they had housing projects that were very high density that were out of character with those cities. But at the end of the day, cities cannot say no under many circumstances because of mandates that are coming down from the state that limit our ability to say no, particularly for projects that are taking advantage of the state's density bonus law. So yes, it is a challenge for us. We do our best to try and focus that growth where it makes the most sense. But at the end of the day, Oceanside is no different from any other city, and we can't say no and severely restrict the amount of growth that we would otherwise want to see because of mandates that are coming down from the state.
Right, and I think you asked a question about hotels, and right now we do not have, I don't know of any plans for hotels downtown.
Right, and I would say to answer one of the questions, yes, the overwhelming majority of the housing being built right now is rental housing, not ownership housing. We don't necessarily have any, well, we actually have one hotel project out by El Corazon that I expect to come online in the near future. The transit center one is still questionable. It's a very tight market for hotel financing right now, and I think you would hear from anyone who builds hotels that it's very challenging for them to get financed right now. We, as a matter of fact, in Oceanside, I can think of about 4 hotel projects that have been approved that have never broken ground because they can't get the financing for them. It's a very challenging market for hotel development. So yes, to answer your question, we'd love to see lots of hotels here, but it is a very challenging market.
And that's it. Basically, what we're saying is these state laws that have been mandating, that is requiring under the threat of litigation, high-density residential, which are mostly apartment buildings. That is, we have to do it. We cannot say no. Otherwise, we will be sued by the state. I can't have you address this again, sorry, but it's actually gotten worse because of SB 79, which in fact is requiring us to build within a half a mile of the Sprinter, much higher density, and it doesn't matter how it's zoned. If it's residential or commercial, it has to happen. So we have come up with our alternative plan. Thank you very much, and now we're going to go ahead and get started with our public hearing items. Item 26, staff recommends City Council consider the appeal of the tobacco retail license suspensions submitted by the BZBK LLC and adopt a resolution affirming the 30-day suspension of tobacco retail license TRL-1277379, and that is the Hype Haven 1 at 3504 College Boulevard, and the 30-day suspension of tobacco retail license TRL-1277377, and that is Hype Haven 2 at 1405 South El Camino Real. I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from council members regarding constituent contacts and or correspondence.
Staff and the staff report.
I've received no other contact about this item except through staff.
None. Just staff report.
All right, Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
We do not.
All right, I'm going to begin with a presentation by, the city presentation by Mr. Kirk Munt, who is our Code Enforcement Division Manager. If I can ask, do we have the appellant present? All right, good. All right, so Mr. Munt, you will get up to 20 minutes to do the presentation. You can reserve time for rebuttal of that 20 minutes. After Mr. Munt completes his presentation, the appellant will have up to 20 minutes to do his presentation. You'll not be able to reserve any time for rebuttal. Then we will hear from the public, and then and you did not have to sign up for this. So this part of it, Mr. Navarro will be calling in terms of the names, beginning with those who are present. And then after that's exhausted, we will go to anyone who wishes to address the council remotely, that is by Zoom. And then there will be the rebuttal and then deliberation by the council. So, Mr. Munt.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. My name is Kirk Munt. I'm the Code Enforcement Division Manager. And the issue before you tonight is the confirmation of the suspension for 2 locations. There's a Hype Haven 1, Hype Haven 2, owned by BZBK LLC. Oceanside City Code 7.92.2b requires that a TRL shall be suspended for 30 days for the first violation of any local or state laws. During our last inspection, which was completed in February 2026, the appellant violated various health and safety code sections by having untaxed tobacco and most notably flavored tobacco at both locations. And prior to that February 26 inspection, there was a May 2025 inspection by the state where they found similar violations. On February 12th, 2026, both locations were inspected jointly with code enforcement and the CDTFA. We completed the simultaneous inspections of both locations because we knew that they were in communication with each other. And if we showed up at one, we had a suspicion that they would call the other. So we showed up at both locations at the same time. The Hype Haven 1 location, the state impounded 1,148 prohibited products. And from Hype Haven 2, which is the El Camino Real, 1,423 products. These are some photos to give some perspective on what we found when we did our inspection. This is the room behind the counter. And you'll note that that bookcase on the left, empty bookcase that just has it looks like a drink or something on it. And take note also of the safe in the middle of that wall. Well, here's the next photo. That bookcase actually swung out where there was a hidden room, and the flavored products were concealed in that area. As far as the safe was actually a transaction window where customers would deposit their money and receive their prohibited products through that. Looks like a safe. Here are some of the prohibited products that are in the back at the college location. You see the pink and green flavors or colors there indicate generally flavored products, and I'll have some other pictures of that as well. In total, 9 boxes were impounded by the state. These are those products there. These are all prohibited products. As far as the flavored tobacco, that's been prohibited since December of 2022, so this is nothing new. The El Camino Real location at 1405 South El Camino Real. These were photos taken by code staff during our inspection. Found similar, we didn't find a hidden room, but we found plenty of flavored prohibited products. You'll see the smokeless tobacco in the bottom right corner and the other flavored vapes, et cetera, there in that photo. There's the smokeless tobacco, which falls under that same state law. This is a menu that was at the front counter where the customers would enter. White gummy ice, frozen strawberry, and California cherry were some of the flavors offered. And this is the customer-facing menu. This is not behind the counter. This is available for the public to get to. And in total, from the El Camino Real location, we impounded 12 boxes of products. all prohibited per state law. As far as the May 2025 inspection by the state, and code enforcement was not working with CDTFA at that point, but CDTFA completed their inspection alone and impounded 1,359 prohibited products from the College Boulevard location, 1,899 from the El Camino Real location. And keep in mind, this is just 9 months prior to our joint inspection. I have some details as to what was impounded in both February and May. And I also have Mr. J. Michael, who's here from CDTFA, should you have any specific questions. But here's an overview of the products that were taken by the state. This is February for Hype Haven 1 on College. You'll notice total flavor brand products there in the middle, 1,013 units, as well as some other untaxed products. And the code sections there at the bottom, civil citations were issued for 3 violations of the Business and Professions Code. This is the May inspection of that same location. Total flavor brand products there in the middle, 1,359, and the same sections violated just 9 months prior. This is the February location for El Camino Real. Same sections of the Business Professions Code violated there. And finally, the May inspection of the El Camino Real location. What we're asking tonight is we're just asking the council to affirm the 30-day suspension of the tobacco retail license suspension for both locations. Both were in violation at the time of our inspection in February. And this is required per our city code. I'm available. I'd like to reserve the remainder of my time for rebuttal and available for any questions.
Thank you very much. So you have 13, almost 14 minutes left. All right. Now we'll hear from the appellant. If you could state your name for the record, and then you have up to 20 minutes.
My name is Omar Turbi. I am one of the owner-operators of these stores. I'm actually not here to rebut anything he said. Right? I wanted to take an appeal as it was my right. I was out of the country for the last 2 months, and I wanted to make a sort of different appeal. There is one thing I want to rebut, that door in the back. That was there when we bought, I told you in the last meeting, that was there when we bought it. We never used it for that, but it wasn't for that. But, right, we're here. I wrote a prepared statement I'd like to say, if that's okay.
You can read your statement, yes.
Thank you. Mayor and council members, thank you for hearing my appeal. I own and operate these stores, and I take sole responsibility for making sure they comply with the law. I'm not here to attack city staff or minimize the city's concerns. I understand why tobacco regulation is taken seriously. Since these inspections, I have worked to correct the issues. We have removed any and all questionable or non-compliant merchandise, strengthened our invoice and record retention procedures, and made it clear to our employees that products cannot be brought in or sold without proper documentation and management approval. As a side, we do not sell whippets, illegal drugs, anything of that nature, and we are extremely strict regarding sales to minors. Protecting young people and maintaining a legitimate business are important to me and my wife. I want a good, cooperative relationship with Oceanside, and I am committed to remaining compliant. I welcome your team back anytime to come and see our new products that we do carry, all compliant, right, with lists and what we plan to do in the future, like I mentioned in the last meeting, right, with Pachamama, if you recall this. It has an age gating device on it. It's not compliant yet. It's being approved by the state and the PMT and the federal government. This would be a device that can only be opened by an adult and used by an adult through their cell phone and uploading their ID. And that's the type of products that we're carrying now. I respectfully ask the council to consider reducing the suspension or staying it or giving us a fine. instead. The reason being, a suspension affects me, but I'm a business owner, I have cash reserves. What it really affects is my employees. For 30 days, I won't have a business operating in order to pay them. I recognize that ultimately the responsibility belongs to me as the owner. I have learned from this, I've corrected the operation, and I'm asking for an opportunity to demonstrate continued compliance. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then this is a time for the public hearing, and we're going to go ahead and hear from the public at this time.
We do not have any registered speakers in person or on Zoom. So this would be the time to ask if anybody's here.
All right. You did not have to have signed up before. If there's anyone who wishes to address the council on this item, very specifically on this item, please approach the podium. You have up to 3 minutes to speak. State your name, and then on this item, only on this item. I see no one rising.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and go to Mr. Navarro to see if there's anyone else wishing to address the council on this item specifically that is remotely.
Yeah. If you wish to talk on this specific item, item number 26, please use the raise your hand feature by dialing *9 right now. Again, just dial *9 if you wish to talk on this specific item. And we do not have any speakers on Zoom.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing and offer rebuttal to Mr. Munt. You have almost 15 minutes, so.
Okay, I won't take that long. To rebut some of the statements made by Mr. Turby, as far as no illegal drugs, during the inspection with CDTFA, there were some products. I don't know what the contents of the box were, but they were marked as cannabis products. We were told that they were batteries for a smoking device, but they were marked as a cannabis product and could not be listed there. The state impounded those as well. Interestingly, too, there was an attempt to open a third location off of Vandergrift and North Redondo. We got a complaint about that. We showed up there, and that business was actually operating. The door was open, had grand opening signs, no business license, no state tobacco license. So we've checked it multiple times. I was there as early as today. There's still items inside. It still appears to be occupied by Mr. Turby. I don't know that it's reopened, but there was an attempt to open a third location without any licensing, local, state, or otherwise. And I believe that's all I have for, unless there's any question.
Thank you very much. All right, to the council, the city does bear the burden of proving by a preponderance of the evidence that the violations occurred. The section that we are addressing is California Health and Safety Code Section 104.559. .5B1, which prohibits tobacco retailer from selling, offering for sale, or possessing with the intent to sell or offer for sale any flavored tobacco product. The statute contains no knowledge or intent requirement. Under California's public welfare offense doctrine, the violation is established by the presence of prohibited products at the licensed premises, regardless of the owner's personal knowledge or involvement. If the council finds the violations are established, Oceanside Municipal Code Section 7.92.2, subsection B, subsection 1, prescribes a mandatory 30-day suspension for a first violation within a 5-year period. The word shall in the ordinance is mandatory and does not afford discretion to reduce the penalty below the prescribed minimum. At the conclusion of the hearing, the council shall either affirm or overrule the appealed action. The decision of the city council shall be final. So, Councilmember Robinson.
Thank you. For Mr. Munt, where'd you go? Oh, hi. I'm sorry if I missed it in your presentation, but, and you may have said it, but what was it that put this investigation or this inspection joint together? What caused it?
We had been out multiple times as code enforcement staff to do our, excuse me, our local inspection and found flavored products on several different visits. So we coordinated with CDTFA and did this joint inspection together with them.
So when we talk about this being the first violation, but during your normal inspection process, there's been other violations that they've either been written up for or items confiscated, correct?
Yeah, we observed them. We didn't take any action other than asking the business owner to remove them at that time.
Okay. I don't know if you know, but do you know how many employees they have?
It's a few. It's a handful as far as I'm aware.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to move that we adopt the resolution denying the appeal of TAT Oceanside LLC. I'm sorry? Sorry. I'm sorry, I move, I was reading from the wrong section. I move that we adopt the resolution affirming the appealed.
I don't know how it's written. I don't know how it got written.
Okay, that we affirm that we adopt the resolution affirming the 30-day suspension of tobacco retail license TRL-1277379 and 1277377. That is at both of the sites. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Any other comments by the council? Seeing none, let's vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. All right, next is item number 27. Staff recommends City Council adopt a resolution denying the appeal of TAT Oceanside LLC doing business as the Artist Tree and affirming the denial of a storefront retail cannabis local license. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing and request the disclosure from council members regarding constituent contacts and or correspondence.
Just staff, and I did have a conversation with one citizen.
All right, just staff.
Staff only about this particular item.
Regards to this, staff.
Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
Any correspondence we received was forwarded to the council prior to the meeting.
All right, thank you. We're going to begin with a presentation by Dane Thompson, Senior Planner. This is going to procedurally run the same as the previous item, and that is Mr. Thompson will have up to 20 minutes to do a presentation. Mr. Thompson, if you wish, you can reserve time for rebuttal. After the presentation, the appellant will have an opportunity to do a presentation. Do we have the appellant present? Yes, okay. So the appellant will have up to 20 minutes to do a presentation. After that, we will hear from the public. And then after we close the public input part of the hearing, we will then have the opportunity to hear from the city again with respect to any rebuttal if there's any time left, and then it will come to the council for deliberation. So, Mr. Thompson, please begin.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. Dane Thompson with the Planning Division, presenting the TAT, screen isn't showing. Presenting the TAT Oceanside appeal. Still.
Can we get a T?
I think I just clicked the wrong button. Sorry about that. Staff is recommending tonight that the City Council deny the appeal and affirm staff's decision to deny a local license to TAT Oceanside LLC. On August 6, 2025, the City Council introduced an ordinance to allow 4 storefront retail cannabis licenses and adopted application procedures establishing the storefront retail cannabis program. The application window opened in fall 2025, and 17 applications were received. The application process included 3 phases and was designed to award the limited amount of licenses through a 3-phase process. Phase 1 of that process was a completeness review. This was conducted by the consultant, where applicants submitted their application. If it was deemed incomplete, they had 30 days to cure their application. Phase 2 was also conducted by the consultant, which scored those applications according to the adopted evaluation criteria. Phase 3 was conducted by staff and was staff interview panels. In phase 1, for completeness reviews, all applications were ultimately deemed complete and advanced to phase 2. For phase 2, the existing operators, the city's 2 existing operators, met their minimum score and minimum qualifications and were awarded licenses through a separate streamlined track that was approved by the City Council. Of the 15 remaining applications, 9 of them received the top application score and advanced to phase 3. Phase 3 staff interview panels were conducted on June 15th and 16th of this year, and license awardees were to be determined through a blind ranked choice vote administered by the city clerk. During the interview of TAT Oceanside, which is the appellant, the chief of police, who was one of 5 panelists, learned of a familial relationship between an owner and an OPD employee. The chief immediately flagged the potential conflict after the interview for the city attorney's office to review. While there is no direct or indirect financial benefit to the chief and therefore no financial conflict of interest, it is still important to avoid concerns of public perception of bias, of fairness, and impartiality in the process. To remedy the situation, staff removed the chief of police's rankings from the scoring process and tabulated the results with the remaining 4 panelists' rankings. Staff found this to be the best course of action, given that the panelists did not discuss the merits of the applications or the applicants or their own rankings, and therefore did not influence the rankings of other panelists. Sorry. After removing the chief's rankings and tabulating the scores, the final rankings resulted in the rankings shown on the screen. March and Ash was given first rank and secured a local license. There was a 3-way tie for second rank, and then 5th through 9th rank was considered denied a local license because there was only 2 licenses available. We are coming back to City Council in 2 weeks to figure out what to do with the 3-way tie for second rank. The applicants were notified of the results in a timely manner and the decision to remove the chief's rankings, and the appellant submitted a timely appeal of their license denial on July 13th, 2026. The appellant's first point of contention is that the removal of the chief's ballot compromised the integrity of the evaluation and materially altered the final outcome. Staff responds that the removal of the chief's rankings did not affect the appellant's interview result, and that even with a first place ranking from the chief and 0 points from the chief for all other applicants, the applicant would not have received a local license. In addition, the chief's request to abstain was legitimate given the potential perception of bias, and staff recommends that the City Council respect that determination. To reiterate, staff handled the potential conflict in a fair manner, which did not prejudice the appellant. It is mathematically impossible for them to have scored enough points with the chief's rankings to be awarded a license. The second point of contention is that the city's claim that the familial relationship in question was unknown prior to the interview is false. Staff responds that while the applicant disclosed the relationship in their application, the application was reviewed by a consultant and the issue was not identified in the process. Staff does not claim that the appellant concealed this information, just that the way it panned out, the chief didn't learn of this relationship until the interview. The last point of contention is that the removal of a panelist's rankings due to an indirect relationship is inequitable, as multiple other applicants maintain various professional, political, or personal relationships with other panelists. Staff responds that the subject relationship is the only potentially significant relationship between a panelist and an applicant that has been identified. Staff is unaware of any further direct or indirect relationships between panelists and applicants. Overall, staff finds that the decision to remove the chief of police from the ranked choice vote was the best course of action given the circumstances. The decision sought to alleviate concerns of potential conflicts of interest while maintaining the integrity of the interview process. The appellant's claims are found to be unsubstantiated, and the removal did not materially affect the outcome of their application. With that, staff recommends that the City Council deny the appeal and affirm staff's decision to deny a local license to the appellant. And that concludes my presentation. I would like to reserve the rest of my time for rebuttal.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Thompson. Okay, now is the time for presentation by the appellant. So please begin by stating your name for the record. And then you have up to 20 minutes.
Hi, my name is Lauren Fontaine. I'm one of the owners and chief compliance officer for TAT, Oceanside LLC, DBA The Artistry. Greetings, Honorable Mayor and council members. Since filing our written appeal, we've conducted a forensic review of newly released city records. Through this review, we've uncovered critical structural, mathematical, and procedural flaws that extend far beyond our initial appeal filing. The city's records prove that the final Phase 3 rankings do not reflect objective merit, but are instead the product of a mathematically broken ranking system and a deeply biased evaluation process. Because these severe data integrity issues prejudiced every single business that advanced to Phase 3, we're advocating not only for the artistry tonight, but for a fair process for all Phase 3 applicants. We object to the conclusions in the August 5th staff report, specifically the claims that the errors were harmless or did not materially affect the outcome. We respectfully request that the City Council pause the final award of these licenses until the numerous flaws in the interview ranking process can be thoroughly reviewed and corrected. First, the city created a fair, objective scoring rubric for these interviews. The panelists scored applicants using objective criteria during the interviews, but the panelists didn't use that information to determine rankings. I'll demonstrate later how the rankings would have materially changed if they were based on interview scores. Second, the board account system used to force rank applicants is inherently biased and subject to manipulation by judges. Third, the sequential evaluation method that panelists used, whereby each applicant was ranked as they appeared rather than all being ranked at the end of the interviews, fundamentally corrupted the rankings. Fourth, the panelists failed to fairly evaluate applicants by not considering the totality of information available to them, in contradiction to the application guidelines. Fifth, although panelists were granted discretion in ranking applicants, California courts consistently hold that discretion is not a license for arbitrary action, and the city's process is legally indefensible. Sixth, the improper removal of the police chief's score equates to arbitrary and retroactive score manipulation. there's no conflict of interest, and the chief knew Jessica Roy, our local owner, was an applicant well before our interview. Finally, the city had the burden of ensuring no conflicts of interest between panelists and applicants before the interviews, and inequitably applied conflict of interest standards. The city has spent 2 years developing the cannabis licensing process, as you all know. So the city spent a lot of time espousing a merit-based process and extensively considered whether to conduct a lottery or whether to award the licenses via merit. Even though staff originally recommended a lottery in November of 2023, City Council expressly rejected that in February 25 so that there could be an interview phase. In the city's approved system, there was a scoring matrix and a evaluation criteria and a selection process. The fundamental rule of administrative law in California is that a city cannot ignore its own ordinances. Yet the city, via the interview panel, acted capriciously by abandoning the objective mandate documented in the various staff reports and city council hearings, which led to the release of the cannabis application in fall 2025. Phase 2 was heavily regulated with a strict scoring matrix. Similarly, in Phase 3, the city did establish a set of 6 multi-part questions, an interview scoring key, and a detailed rubric for how to score each applicant's answer. Despite the interview scoring rubric, Phase 3 effectively operated as a beauty contest where the panel picked winners without applying the scoring matrix or producing an evidentiary record. So this is an example of some of the pages from the scoring rubric. This was provided to all of the panelists. So you can see this is one of the questions. You can see the scoring breakdown 1 to 4 and how judges were advised to score up. And this is another page. Staff did respond to me in an email today saying that this rubric was merely a guideline and that the panelists were not forced or required to use this for the rankings, but the city can't have it both ways. It can't create a detailed multi-part scoring rubric to create the appearance of an objective merit-based interview process, only to later claim the rubric was just an optional guideline when the math doesn't add up. Establishing a strict scoring matrix sets a legal and administrative standard. Abandoning that standard at the finish line to allow for subjective rankings is a bait and switch that renders this entire process arbitrary. So when we reviewed the interview response scores, which were provided to us, it became apparent that the panelists subjectively ranked applicants in a way that deviated greatly from the scores. There were some missing scores, and I'll get into detail about that a little later. But so this is an analysis that will have to be delved into and audited. But we looked at the scores. So if you aggregated the score that each of these applicants got on the interview sections, you'll see the total number. And there's a best case scenario where we gave the missing scores the highest possible. And then there's a realistic score based on averages. So you could see Embark ranked first. And the other applicants in line are not the same as the rankings that were the final established rankings. So this shows that there was a big divergence between the panelists' forced choice rankings and the scoring of the interview components. This is another way to look at the data where instead of looking at the aggregate score, you look at whether the judge placed them first to 9th based on their overall interview score and give that a numerical value. So even under this scenario, you'll still see these rankings don't match the final results. This is the ranking sheet published by the city. So we can go back and forth, but you could see here that the final rankings are not the same as those that I just showed. The odd thing to note is that the city, is now in this 3-way tie for second and is going to have to reconsider this whole process in a couple of weeks, which is another reason why I think you should strongly consider putting a pause on it for our appeal. But they could have avoided that tie completely if they had just used the interview panelists' scores when they were doing the interview. Okay, the next issue is that they used a board account system. So that means the panelists had to force rank applicants, so they had to give them a ranking. So this type of system is extremely vulnerable to strategic voting because applicants will get a score of 1 through 9 based on their ranking. And so a judge can effectively tank somebody if they want someone else to win. If they realize their favorite candidate's in a tight race with another frontrunner, they're mathematically incentivized to bury that rival by ranking them dead last so that they'll get the lowest score possible and they can never overcome that. It also forces arbitrary tiebreakers, even if applicants are equal. It doesn't account properly for the quality of applicants because if two companies are very close and then someone's a distant third, they're all treated equally when the scoring is done. And it's also extremely sensitive to a small number of judges. So here we only had 5 total to begin with, and then 4. So this makes it even more problematic to use the board up point distribution. And you can see, this is an example of an anomaly. You could see that we're ranked last. And if you look at the scores, there was no interview panelist that ranked us last or where we had the lowest scores based on our interview questions. So this is odd. There's other examples with Embark where they were ranked first by 2 interviewers and 5th by 2 others. So just, on the face of it, logically, it doesn't really make sense. The city also employed a sequential evaluation system using these scratch pads. So that type of system is already proven to be inherently biased toward earlier applicants, especially in scenarios like this where the panelists are evaluating highly technical subjects outside their daily expertise. So this sequential evaluation, I mentioned it earlier, but what it means is the first interview, they ranked that applicant. Then the next interview, they had to re-rank first and second. Then the next, they had to re-rank first, second, and third. And so I won't get into this in too much detail, but going through that system gives an inherent anchoring bias to earlier interviewees. And there's this effect called novelty decay. And so we could see that this evaluation system just shouldn't have been used. The city should have allowed the panelists to listen to all of the interviews, and then they could have ranked the applicants at the end. There's also some scoring anomalies that I mentioned. So there were some missing scores. So I'll just show you via this chart. One of the panelists, these 2s, these were anonymous, so we don't know, but they were completely missing scores for the interview questions for 5-Star Greens and Green Venture Farms. And I have kind of backup showing how we could tell that. And then another panelist was missing scores for 2 questions, 1 each for March and Ash and Green Venture Farms. Okay, so the next issue is the panel failed to properly evaluate applicants by not considering the totality of the evidence. So in the application guidelines, it stated that the panel may consider all available information, including compliance history. So based on that, as applicants, we could reasonably expect that our detailed business plans and written phase 2 applications would be taken into account. Yet in the August 5th staff report for this hearing, the staff confirmed the panel did not look at the scored written applications and only used the subjective interview to make their final decision. How can an interview panel make a rational decision when they're actively prevented from seeing applicants' actual business plans? This proves phase 3 was not an evaluation of merit. The panel's blind rank choice vote was based only on a brief interview and entirely disconnected from the actual experience, labor practices, and community benefits and other objective criteria mandated by the City Council. This is the exact type of arbitrary procedural deviation that courts look for when overturning municipal licensing decisions. Another issue that I highlighted on the slide, but there's something in the interview guidelines that tells the interviewers to consider specifically the applicant's familiarity with the interview team. So I found this very odd. It's on this sheet. That's where I highlighted it. Scoring an applicant based on familiarity with the judges is blatant bias, favoritism, and an unlevel playing field. Practically guarantees political insiders or existing local operators will win the license over a newcomer, regardless of the objective quality of their application. The panelists were given discretion by the city to conduct the interviews. But discretion does not mean they were above the law. Even if the city granted them discretion, California courts consistently hold that discretion is not a license for arbitrary, capricious, or standardless decision-making. In a petition for a writ of administrative mandamus, the court will evaluate if the panel abused its discretion. Abuse of discretion will have occurred if the panel did not proceed in a manner required by law, such as following the objective criteria mandate of the City Council for this whole process, if the order or their decision is not supported by the findings, and if the findings are not supported by the evidence. And we have all of that here. The law requires the city to bridge the analytical gap between the evidence and the final rankings. Missing scores on the rubrics, mathematically flawed scratch pads, a lack of narrative notes for one panelist, all prove that the rankings were not an exercise of professional discretion, but it was a fundamentally flawed and biased guess. A court will likely view a secret, unscored, unjustified ranking system as arbitrary and standardless. You are probably familiar with the case in Chula Vista, which is kind of the closest relevant case, but there's many other examples of courts invalidating arbitrary and capricious licensing processes with cannabis or with other permitting processes. But in Chula Vista, the appellate court forced the city to reinstate a rejected cannabis applicant back into the running after multiple rejected applicants sued the city, claiming the scoring process was baffling, arbitrary, capricious, and contrary to the law. The lawsuits highlighted that the city and its consultants failed to follow their own ordinances when determining who received a business license. In our writ proceeding, if we don't prevail in this appeal and we move forward, we'll be able to delve into the city's communications and documentation through discovery, and we expect to find additional evidence to bolster our claims. We've also found, one other glaring abnormality, which is that Green Venture Farms did not submit a collective bargaining agreement in its phase 2 application. That was part of the scoring rubric. Because of that, they did not initially get scored as 100 points. Somehow they were able to provide that after the fact to the city, even though all applicants were required to have final and complete applications by that date, and after they'd been scored. And somehow they were given a special exception, and we saw it happen in April, so well after phase 2. And they were able to provide that. So, that's just another thing that we've unearthed, and we expect more. Another point is that the removal of the police chief score equates to arbitrary and retroactive score manipulation. The improper removal of the police chief's ballot directly compromised the mathematical integrity of the evaluation and materially altered the final outcome. In the email sent to applicants on July 1st, the city stated that his scores were removed in an abundance of caution, despite explicitly acknowledging that no actual conflict of interest existed. So if there's no conflict of interest, why was it removed? The city also claimed that, and the police chief claimed he just became aware that Jessica Roy was an applicant at the interview. This is false for two reasons. We did, openly disclose that in our written application, but also Joe Roy, who is the police department employee under the police chief, told the police chief in person a couple months before the interviews that his wife Jessica was a cannabis applicant to avoid exactly what the police chief is claiming. He didn't want him to be surprised in the interview. He wanted him to, understand. And so it's very frustrating that the chief has stated that he did not know ahead of time, because he absolutely did. The city is also penalizing us for its own administrative negligence. We followed the rules. We disclosed the relationship months ago. The city manager's office and the consultants failed to read or properly vet the applications before seating the interview panel. A mid-interview realization of a conflict of interest, which tainted the scoring environment and required a panelist to abstain, is a gross failure of municipal procedure. If the city failed to vet basic conflicts of interest before the interviews began, the impartiality of the entire panel and the resulting scores cannot be trusted. The city's logic that the police chief's ranking wouldn't have altered the outcome for the artistry also shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how a forced rank choice system works. In the city's highly sensitive ranked choice voting system, with a micro panel of only 5 judges, Removing an entire ballot retroactively shifts the mathematical weight of the remaining scores and artificially alters the entire point spread. The scores are relative, not absolute in this system. The chief's removal didn't just subtract one person's points, it fundamentally altered the comparative weight, the median, and the point spread for all applicants. The city cannot simply apply hypothetical math to a broken baseline. The structural integrity of the vote was compromised the moment the panel size changed mid-deliberation. There are also, there is other connections potentially that we mentioned that other applicants have. So Green Venture Farms local owner Michael Milano has been publicly collaborating with the city on the ad hoc cannabis committee when the cannabis regulations were first developed. Valley Gilly, one of the Embark local owners, is a member of the Oceanside Economic Development Commission. That is an advisory commission to the city and works underneath the city manager's hierarchy. Robbie Calderon-Haas, another Embark local owner, has been involved in many organizations, including the Police and Fire Commission, and has worked with the city manager's office directly or indirectly and police department many times. So in summary, we understand why the city chose to conduct an interview panel so they can evaluate candidates in real life. However, the evidence presented today demonstrates an extensive record of critical, structural, mathematical, and procedural flaws that rendered the Phase 3 interviews completely arbitrary and disconnected from the City Council's initial objective mandate for the cannabis licensing process by intentionally withholding the scored written applications from the interview panel and retroactively removing a panelist ballot from a highly sensitive forced rank system. The city fundamentally corrupted the integrity of the final results. These severe data integrity issues and ranking bias and inequitable conflict of interest standards unfairly prejudiced every single Phase 3 applicant. We're raising these procedural and structural defects on the record today to fully exhaust our administrative remedies. Should this appeal be denied, we are fully prepared to pursue a writ of administrative mandamus, which we are confident will succeed in court. Based on all the claims I've outlined, and on behalf of all the affected applicants, we respectfully request that the City Council put a moratorium on the cannabis permitting process, set aside the tainted Phase 3 rankings, and mandate a fair, transparent evaluation process.
All right, thank you very much. Now we're at the part of hearing from the public, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Navarro.
Thank you. We only have 2 speakers registered on this item. Both of them are remote. So.
All right, as to folks that are here in person, if anyone wishes to address the council on this item, please approach the podium, state your name, and then you have up to 3 minutes. I see no one rising, so we'll go ahead and go to the remote.
Okay, if you have the phone number, last 4 digits, 1822, please press *6 to unmute. Once again, last 4 digits, 1822. Seeing none, we'll move to the next speaker, Micah Bailey. Please press *6 to unmute. And you can speak whenever you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Micah Bailey, and I'm an attorney, and I actually represented 5 Star Greens in connection with the applicants or the application process. 5 Star Greens was also a Phase 3 applicant, and I'm here to support TAT in its appeal and support its request that the licensing process be suspended and the city take sufficient time to consider next steps to remediate the situation. I thought that the presentation presented by the appellant, was articulate, spot on, and I particularly agree with the points that she made concerning the sequential review process. There's nothing more I could say that she hasn't already said that we support. I think it completely would favor who was lucky enough to be first or last which to me is arbitrary. And second, I asked the city to consider taking a closer look at some of the documentation that was submitted by some of the applicants that advanced to phase 3, particularly in respect to the local ownership requirement. 5-star Greens, as we presented at the interview, our interview strategy was based almost purely on the fact that we have and had a real local owner. And in a lot of these applications in other cities, applicants will go just grab someone from the city that has nothing to do with cannabis and say, hey, we'll put you on our application so we can get the points in advance. And more often than not, it's just a fake, it's a fake person. And I actually lodged with the clerk today one of many lawsuits that have been filed that concern this problem, because it happens with equity applicants, and it happens with folks that are brought in as a person who quote unquote owns a majority interest in a company. But unless and until you review an operating agreement, I think that you cannot possibly know whether the information presented to the city is actually real. If you look at an operating agreement or governing documents for the applicants and have them commit to what quote unquote 51% actually means, I think the city has more due diligence to do on the local ownership requirement. And the last point I would make very briefly is, one of the things that we saw in our analysis of the application.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll move on to those that have not registered and wish to speak on this item. If you wish to speak on this item, press *9 right now. And we do not have any other speakers on this item.
All right, thank you. So go back, we're going to go ahead and go back to staff, and staff has
12 minutes and 30 seconds.
All right. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. I wrote down about 12 different points that the appellant brought up, so I'm going to try and address those all. The first one was that the scores didn't correspond to the rankings. The scores were just a suggestion that was provided by the consultant. So the actual official panelist rankings were the forced ranking. However, the panelists wanted to incorporate those into their rankings, was up to their discretion. It is said in the application procedures that they have the ability to include things outside of the interview in their scores. So the panelists were well aware that they had more discretion than just the 6 interview questions. The second point was that forced ranking is inherently flawed. The system that was chosen by the panel is a pretty common process that's used for interviews of these sort. The council did require a blind ranked choice vote that was through a merit-based process. And with that ranked choice vote, this is what was decided to be the best choice to line up with that system. The 5 panelists were the 3 city managers, chief of police, finance director. This was a process that was conducted by the highest level of professionals. So we don't expect there to be a significant amount of bias just in the process itself. I think the third point was scoring anomalies. I don't know why there were scoring anomalies. That was up to the panelists. Like I said with the first point, though, the scores weren't the rankings. The rankings were the forced ranking system. And with those scoring, when the scoring wasn't the official process, those numbers didn't have to be correct. So for example, if you were given scores that were just suggestions to help you out with your rankings, you can have scores for certain applicants that don't line up to your scores with other ones, whereas if your scoring was your official ranking, you could go back and change those rankings with the light of new information. If you gave somebody full points for an answer of one question and then 3 interviews down the line, you find that their response actually didn't warrant full points. If those were officially the scores, you would go back and change those. There's no obligation for the panelists to retroactively change their scores. They're just tools and suggestions to help them in their rankings. The 4th point was that panelists were not given access to the applications. So written applications were evaluated in phase 2 by the consultant. Phase 3 wasn't supposed to be a rerun of phase 2. All of the 9 applicants that proceeded to phase 3 got a perfect score and were assumed to have an excellent application. The phase 3 panel interviews were to determine who is the best out of those 9. And through a merit-based process, but with the discretion of the panelists. So there are a lot of ways that you could have run the interview process, but what was decided by staff was to just hold interviews and then have the interview panelists have the discretion to determine who was the top 1 and 2 rank of those. I will remind the council that these are 100+ page applications, so that would be giving the panelists 500, say 1,000 pages of information to go over before the interviews. The next point is that discretion is not a license for arbitrariness. Staff doesn't know what went into the panelists' decisions for their rankings, but doesn't assume that any of these decisions were arbitrary. The panelists were well aware of the process and how it was supposed to be merit-based. The next one is that scores were improperly removed. When the chief found the potential conflict, staff believes he had the right to ask for recusal. It is very important for the city to alleviate concerns of public perception of bias and impartial bias. So staff doesn't see that as arbitrary, and it suggests that the council respect that decision, because that is essentially the way you handle a potential conflict of interest. You recuse yourself or you abstain from a vote, something along those lines. And to reiterate, there doesn't seem to be a great path there, a great choice. There's issues with both ways of you remove the panelist rankings, you inherently change some of the scores and the weighting of those scores, but if you kept them in, you had that public perception of bias. So staff believes that given the circumstances, the removal was fair, and in this case, it did not prejudice the applicant, or the appellant. The next point was there was a line in the consultant's scoring rubric that said that the panelists could take into account familiarity with the interview panel. Familiarity in this sense does not mean literal familial relationships. It's supposed to mean familiarity with the brand and the other locations of the operators, as well as the local owners that are going to be a big part of these applications, and those local owners and their reputations. The next point was that Green Venture Farms, a different applicant, did not submit a collective bargaining agreement, and that staff allowed it after the fact. That is correct. The applicant said that they didn't know that they omitted that information. They were essentially denied a license in phase 2. They were said that they are not going to advance. They came back to staff and said, hey, we actually do have a collective bargaining agreement. So staff gave them the reasonable ability to cure their application, essentially. They submitted their materials. We reviewed them, found them to be compliant. So updated the scores. We posted that on the website. It's not something that we were hiding. We were very transparent about it. The next point is that if there's no conflict, why were the rankings removed? Again, this isn't a direct financial conflict of interest. It is just to avoid the public perception, the common law bias of that could be perceived by the public. The next point is that the chief did actually know ahead of time. I can't answer that myself. That would be up to the chief. It wasn't raised by the consultant or by staff. That's all I know for that one. The next point is that the chief's removal fundamentally altered the weight of the final scores. That staff agrees with. That seems like a mathematical certainty, as long as you don't have average scores that the chief is lining up with. But like I said before, given the circumstances, staff feels that the decision was the best available given the circumstances, and that it resulted in a process that is still fair and didn't prejudice the applicant, the appellant, or any of the other ones. And the last point that I heard was other applicants had potential conflicts of interest. This conflict of interest is the only one that we know of, and it is generally the duty of the panelists to alert staff or the city attorney's office of other potential conflicts. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. An appeal of a storefront cannabis license denial under Oceanside City Code Section 7.129 is conducted in the same manner as a business license denial pursuant to Section 15.5, subsection 3. The City Council shall conduct a public hearing based on the issues raised in the appeal. At the hearing, any person may present evidence in opposition to or in support of the applicant's case. At the conclusion of the hearing, the City Council shall either affirm or overrule the appealed action, and the decision of the City Council shall be final. All right, to council. Councilmember Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. There's something that I need to make clear in my disclosure, and that's why I was talking to the city attorney in the back about when I stated that I had talked to a citizen and staff, and I believe the applicant knows this. The citizen that I spoke with today was Joe Ward as a citizen. I did not know at that time, and I have to admit that I missed in my review of the documents, that Jessica Roy, what did I say?
Ward.
Oh.
Joe Ward.
Joe Roy, sorry.
So I guess you really don't know that well.
No, I'm sorry. Sorry. I may have said that and I didn't mean to. Joe Roy. I did not know, even though it's in the applicant's document, when I read through, I did not read line by line and I missed that name. So it wasn't until tonight I just want everybody to understand when I heard the name, that was the first time I was aware that Jessica Roy was involved, and then when I talked to Joe. So I just want it very clear that I did talk to Joe today. And I'll just, for the record, I'll ask because I did ask our attorney, if any of this changes my ability to be part of this deliberation.
the disclosure is intended to be the cure, but the important point is if you received information outside of this arena that the other council members should be aware of, the disclosure should include that information.
No, we did not talk specifically about any elements of the thing itself other than just, we never really got into anything because once we started talking about the appeal, my comments were I really didn't want to talk about it.
All right. All right, thank you. All right, so we have heard from the city and we have heard from the appellant. At this time, I will be making a motion to adopt the resolution denying the appeal of TAT Oceanside LLC doing business as the Artist Tree and affirming the denial of a storefront retail cannabis local license. I found that the presentation by staff was factual and that is, we didn't hear from any other witnesses. All right, Councilman Robinson?
I do have some questions, if that's okay this time.
Yes.
For staff.
Wait, is there a second? Okay.
Thank you, sorry. For staff, the consultant that helped put all this together, were they present during the interview process at all, or were they monitoring?
Councilmember Robinson, the consultant conducted trainings for the panel, but they were not present during the actual interviews.
And I just want to know, in that training, what direction, was the direction about scoring and ranking, was that what was explained to them from the consultant?
I actually wasn't in that training, so I don't know how it went.
And the consultant's not here tonight, right?
The consultant is not here, correct.
So I just want to make sure that that the police chief did hear all the applicants, correct?
Correct. The chief did carry out the rest of the interviews.
Okay, and then his scores were taken out of the process, and he did not rank anybody, is that correct?
The chief of police did rank all of the interviews, all of the applicants, but that wasn't tabulated into the final scores. So the rankings were completed, but not, weren't used.
Okay, so when you said that, I just want to be really clear on this point. When you said that the applicant would not have qualified, was that based on scores or was that based on ranking?
That was based on scores. So the way that the scores ended up, the panelists gave more points for their first ranking, say 9 points for the first rank, 8 points for the second rank, 7 for the third, and so on. So the points were added up by the city clerk's office, and that was how we got the final rankings. So the final rankings were just a sum of those point totals of 4 panelists. What I was trying to express with saying that it was a mathematical certainty that they wouldn't get a license was that they scored so far below the second ranking that even if they got full points from the police chief, had his scores still been included, there's no possibility of them being awarded a license. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, but maybe I'm a little dumb here, but so earlier we said the scores were optional and it was the rankings that counted. So this is where I get confused.
I think I get it now because we're using the same terms over and over. The panelists did individual rankings. Panelist 1 said, I rank application A, first rank, application B, second rank, and so on. So those we call rankings still, but they're not the final rankings that were published in the final places. So if that's a better way to think about it, the rankings were individual by the panelists. The scores were determined by point values assigned to those ranks. So the scores are a sum. And then those summed scores were what determined the placing. First place, second place, third place. And those we consider rankings as well, like first rank, second rank, third rank. But yeah, so there's rankings and scoring, but the scoring is from the individual rankings. There's also the scoring of the individual questions, which is from the scoring suggestions, and those were not the requirement for the individual rankings. Those were just a tool that the panelists could use.
Okay. I think it's important and that we hear, I guess, from the police chief himself about the comment about what he knew or didn't know. And is chief?
Except that that part of the hearing has been closed as far as I understand it. Can I ask you?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've heard the presentation. Neither one of either the city nor the applicant called witnesses. The question is, from the dais is, can we hear from the chief at this point?
Yeah, like you would ask questions of any staff member during your deliberation, you can ask questions of the chief.
Okay. Chief? Very different from a court of law.
I'm not trying to make it a court of law, but I think
No,
that
it's
hangs
just-
out there that it's asked
Right.
and it hasn't been answered.
Chief Valdovinos.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. Chief Torino Valdovinos with the Oceanside Police Department. Yeah, I did hear the appellate mention that I knew previously that Ms. Roy was an owner in the artistry. And I can say that without a doubt that I had no idea that she was an owner of the artistry. Actually, as a matter of fact, I had never heard of the artistry before this application process or before this interview process had taken place. I will say that I did have conversations with Officer Roy, who's the vice president of our association. At the time, over the last year, we've been meeting twice a week. Every 2 weeks. And we had conversations a number of times about different things. One of those things that would come up on occasion would be like the cannabis thing. And I knew that they were supporting a cannabis company. And the only reason I knew which company it was is because I had met one of the representatives here at council and at one of their events. And then at some point, I do recall that he mentioned that they were supporting a second company, but I can tell you without a doubt that I had never heard of the artistry, and I was never told that Ms. Roy was an owner of the artistry. And frankly, I'm a little surprised that the OPOA board would approve sponsoring this company, because to me, that's the conflict of interest, is that one of their board members would potentially financially gain from this selection, had they been selected.
Thank you. I appreciate your willingness to come and answer that, Chief. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor? Oh, wait. Mr. Borrego, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something for the record, and I think this is where the discussion about the scoring got a little bit confusing, but as someone who is directly involved in the process, I think it's important for me to clarify. So the individual panelists did not ascribe a specific score to each individual applicant. The scores that Mr. Thompson is referring to were scores that were developed through the city clerk's office based on our overall ranking through the forced choice system. In other words, so the scoring numbers relate to how they ended up in our forced ranked choice system, not individual scores of each panelist. And, I would concur with what Mr. Thompson said in terms of the instructions that were given in the process that were followed. Yes, we had guidelines. Yes, we did scribble notes and scores and numbers on our rating sheets. But at the end of the day, our ultimate rating system was based on that forced ranked choice chart. And through that chart, there was a score ascribed through the clerk's office based on each of those individual charts. But each individual member did not give a point total for each individual applicant. It was through that forced choice ranking chart.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, the appellant or applicant showed a document that had like a matrix. In your understanding, that was kind of a guideline that the consultant gave you to
Yes, and I was a part of that, obviously part of that training process.
to use to say, hey, a
Yes.
well-qualified.
It was a guideline. Essentially, obviously, as you're listening to the various applicants making their pitches, it was a guideline in terms of how you would generally score rank someone. But at the end of the day, it was based on that forced ranked choice system. And I will say that that is a very common system that we use in a number of actions that we take here in the city, including even job applicants.
Right.
As we're rating applicants, forced choice is very common.
Right, promotions and stuff. It's yes, I would agree with that.
It's
Thank you.
actually very effective, in my opinion.
Deputy Mayor, apologize about that.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think just to speak as a teacher, the descriptor rubric, the support rubric is really good because it helps the panel to think about what a good score, what a good answer to a question would include. So it's just, I'll say from my personal experience, those are very helpful. I appreciate the appellant's very thorough presentation. There were some cognitive biases that were described, like the primacy and latency effect that are always there when you do interviews, and just understanding that that's part of always part of interviews, no matter what. So I'm going to support staff's recommendation here, and I would just also speak to the fact that having folks on some of these organizations that are very active in the city, including in commissions, is a good thing. It's actually part of like the design. And so I'm going to support staff's recommendation here.
All right, I see no other requests to speak from the dais. Let's vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
All right, thank you. Item number 28. Staff recommends the Community Development Commission, that is the City Council sitting as the CDC, adopt a resolution confirming issuance of a categorical exemption pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, that's CEQA, guideline section 15303, new construction or conversion of small structures, and approve a tentative parcel map, development plan, and regular coastal permit to allow the construction of a 3-story, 3-unit condominium structure with subterranean parking and a rooftop deck on an undeveloped parcel at 718 North Pacific Street. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from commissioners, that's the council members sitting as the commissioners, regarding constituent contacts and or correspondence.
Just staff report.
Just staff.
Staff report.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, sitting as the secretary, are there any correspondence and or petitions?
The only correspondence we received was forwarded to council prior to the meeting.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead then and begin with a presentation by Nicole Weedman, Planner 2. Ms. Weedman?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Nicole Weedman with the Planning Division here to present agenda item number 28. Staff is making the recommendation as shown on the slide. The project site located at 718 North Pacific Street is a 4,981 square foot undeveloped parcel that currently functions as a gravel parking lot. Surrounding uses include multifamily residential directly to the north, south, east, and west. The site is located within the town site neighborhood planning area within the appeal area of the coastal zone and has a general plan land use designation of high-density residential and a zoning designation of downtown subdistrict 5, which I will hereby refer to as D5. The D5 subdistrict permits high-density residential in an urban setting near shopping, employment, transportation, and recreational facilities. The proposed project consists of 3 entitlements: a tentative parcel map, a development plan, and a regular coastal permit. The tentative parcel map represents a request to establish a 3-unit condominium map. The development plan represents a request to allow for the construction of a 3-story, 3-unit structure with subterranean parking and 3 private rooftop decks. The structure would consist of 3 condo units ranging in size from 2,383 square feet for the first floor unit to 3,313 square feet for the second and third floor units. Each unit would have access to a private rooftop deck with a combined square footage of 1,801 square feet. As the project site is located within half mile of public transit, and as such, the city cannot impose minimum parking requirements per AB 2097. Despite this, the proposed project is providing 7 parking stalls, which is 1 more than would be required by the zoning ordinance. The project as proposed is also exceeding the city's urban forestry requirements, providing 13.5% more tree canopy and 1% more permeable surface area than required. The regular coastal permit represents a request to allow for the development of a 3-story structure within the appealable area of the local coastal program land use plan jurisdictional boundary. The project as proposed is consistent with the goals of the general plan's land use element as listed on the screen. 718 North Pacific is currently an undeveloped lot. The project as proposed would conform with surrounding multifamily residential uses. The proposed project offers a visual improvement on the site as it would replace an existing gravel lot with a new multifamily residence that utilizes modern coastal architecture with French Andalusian-inspired detailing, as well as utilizing a combination of sand-colored stucco and light gray limestone, making it consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. The project as proposed is also consistent with the local coastal program as it conforms to the LCP policies outlined on the screen. 718 North Pacific Street is located mid-block and would not obstruct any views through the public rights-of-way and is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood's height, scale, color, and form. The proposed project is subject to the downtown district land use and development standards within Article 12 of the zoning ordinance, and as proposed, it meets applicable requirements of the D5 subdistrict. The proposed project is subject to Article 6, Section 601 of the subdivision ordinance. The subdivision as proposed is consistent with the requirements for condominium units on a single parcel. The proposed project qualifies for a categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15303, new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposed project includes construction of a new multifamily residential structure totaling no more than 4 dwelling units, and the subject parcel is located in an urban area of the city, includes all services and public utilities. Furthermore, the project does not qualify for any of the exceptions listed under CEQA Guidelines Section 15300.2 for categorical exempt project. The project complied with the city's enhanced notification policy. Notices of application were mailed to property owners within 500 feet and tenants within 100 feet. To date, 1 letter of support and 2 letters of opposition have been received. On January 28, 2026, the Downtown Advisory Committee voted 5-0-4 to recommend approval of the proposed project. Following the January 8th meeting, the elevations were updated to accommodate elevator equipment. Staff is making the recommendation as shown on this slide. And that concludes staff's presentation. The applicant has also prepared a short presentation for you.
Thank you. This is a time for the applicant to do a presentation. Does the applicant wish to do so? Please state your name for the record, and you have up to 20 minutes.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Alan Tita with Trey Architecture. Our firm is based in South Oceanside here. I'm also proud to have called Oceanside my home for the last 24 years. First, I'd like to express my appreciation to Nicole for her comprehensive and detailed presentation of the project and for the time and effort she and the rest of city staff have dedicated throughout the process. It's a privilege to present our proposed project. I'm joined this evening by my client, Michelle Batras, and she would like to speak after I present. And we appreciate the opportunity to share our vision with you. A lot of this is piggybacking on Nicole's presentation, but the project consists of a 3-story structure over a basement parking garage. Unit and rooftop decks are oriented to maximize ocean views for the proposed 3-unit condominium development. Proposed design incorporates Andalusian-inspired architecture with detailing colors and materials that contribute visual interest and respond to the coastal context. The proposed landscape is compliant with the city's water conservation and climate change requirements, with a plant palette that incorporates a diverse mix of species to enhance the architectural character of the development. The raised planters along the front edge of the site provide an enhanced separation from the public while maintaining improved privacy for the visual screening and visual screening. As Nicole stated, this currently is a empty parcel, gravel lot, with 2 adjacent developments next to us. We have a 3-story development adjacent on the north side and a mix of a 2-story and a 1-story development to the south. Some contextual photos shot from on property. As you can see, the photograph in the middle section on the bottom is the adjacent northern 3-story structure. And the one adjacent to that, bottom right-hand corner, is development to the south. The proposed coastal architecture is inspired by modern coastal architecture with some Andalusian detailing. A mixture of high-quality natural materials, including stucco, stone, and clay roof, have been applied to articulate the elevation and provide richness from all sides. Roof decks and patios extend living spaces outdoors, reinforcing an indoor-outdoor experience inspired by Oceanside's coastal environment. These rooftop decks are also set back from the building edge, a minimum of 3 feet, to help provide some separation from our neighbors. Rooted in Oceanside's diverse and eclectic neighborhoods, the project embraces a non-homogeneous aesthetic that defines the city's character and ongoing evolution. A little hint of a rendering of the project. And this is a combined contextual visualization showing our project adjacent to the current existing structure to the north. Site impacts. Modern coastal architecture appropriately fits within its context. The project design meets or exceeds the applicable development standards. Project enhances an underutilized vacant parcel, and the proposed exterior will enhance the overall visual quality of the. Thank you all for your time and thoughtful consideration this evening. We believe this project will be a positive addition to Oceanside, and we respectfully ask for your approval of the development. At this time, I'd like to introduce my client, Michelle Batris, who would like to share a few brief.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and Councilman. My name is Michelle Batris. I'm the owner of the lot over there on Pacific. My husband and I, he couldn't be here today due to work. I just wanted to introduce myself so you can see a face to the owner. I think it's important just to know I'm born and raised here. I was born at Tri-City Hospital, and first job was at Hunter's back in the day. And then when I went to San Diego State, I ended up working at Tri-City later on. And I've really seen the beautification of Oceanside and the changes that have been made. And the fact that me and my family, I have 4 girls, that we have the opportunity to build something in Oceanside and add to the beauty and the changes that are occurring here. It really is a privilege. I recognize that not all people have that opportunity, and I'm really thankful for it. And so I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself and just let you know that I'm excited to participate in building something beautiful and add to the eclectic styles of Oceanside and the down-to-earth nature that the city has that I've always appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, is that the end of the presentation? I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is the part of the public hearing where we hear from the public. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Navarro.
We do not have any registered speakers in person or on Zoom.
Okay, so you did not have to have signed up. If you wish to address the council on this item, please, you have the ability to do so. Please rise, approach the podium, state your name, and you have up to 3 minutes. I see no one rising, so here, if you could make the same request.
If you're on Zoom and wish to talk on this specific item, please press *9 to raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll toss it back to you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm assuming that staff does not wish to make any further comments, or does staff wish to make some further comments?
No, Honorable Mayor.
All right, so to the council.
Move approval.
Okay, there is a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
There's a second. Any other comments? No? I did have a question about the rooftop deck. I've been on the council where the policies on rooftop decks have changed over time. There were several times over the last 26 years that they were not really allowed because they were considered obstructions. So the current policy is?
Rooftop decks are allowed as long as they're meeting the height limits of the zoning district.
And how tall is that? The maximum is 35 feet.
So the rooftop deck, the top of the railing is under the 35-foot height limit. The elevator shaft does extend past that height limit to a total of 44 feet and 11 inches, which it is allowed to extend up to a maximum of 10 feet over the height limit per Article 30, Section 3018.
So it extends to almost the maximum.
Almost 45 feet, correct.
Right, and it's cannot be more than 10%, and this is at 8%?
So for the coverage of the elevator shaft, to clarify, that's what you're asking.
Or maximum coverage beyond the 35 feet?
Yes, so I believe it is 10%, and the elevator shaft is 8%.
Are there any other structures besides that, the elevator shaft?
So the elevator shaft does include a mechanical closet for the elevator mechanical equipment, but no other structures besides the elevator shaft and the stairwell enclosure.
Nothing else extends beyond 35 feet?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Well, then let's vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Next item is item 29. Staff recommends Community Development Commission, that's the council sitting as a CDC, confirm issuance of a Class 32 infill categorical exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, guidelines, and adopt a resolution approving development plan, tentative map, conditional use permit, and regular coastal permit to allow for the demolition of an existing cottage and the construction of 5 condominium units between 2 three-story structures, existing 2 three-story structures at 217 South Myers Street. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from commissioners regarding constituent contacts and/or correspondence.
Staff report.
Staff, the report, and I also had some questions for city manager.
Staff only.
Staff.
All right. Mr. Navarro, sitting as the secretary, are there any correspondence and/or petitions?
We do not.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and begin with a presentation by Dane Thompson, senior planner. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you again. Dane Thompson with the Planning Division, and item 29 is the 217 South Myers Beach Home Project. Tonight, staff is recommending that the CDC approve the project as proposed. For some background on the project, it was originally proposed with 4 market rate units, and it went to the Downtown Advisory Commission on August 20th of last year, which voted unanimously to recommend approval to this body. After that approval and discussions with the Housing Department, it was found that demolishing the existing cottage on site would require replacement housing. So that is replacement housing at an affordable rate. So the project has been revised to reserve a new 5th unit for very low-income households. And because that is a substantial modification to the original recommendation by the DAC, it went back on April 22nd of 2026. At that meeting, the DAC voted 4-1, recommend approval. The project site is a 5,000 square foot parcel in the town site neighborhood. It is the 200 block of South Myers, that is just south of Tyson Street, and 1 block inland from Pacific Street. In the 1930s, the site was developed with a modest cottage, about 550 square feet. The site has a general plan land use designation of downtown, a local coastal program land use designation of residential high density, and a zoning designation of downtown subdistrict E5. And the site is also in the Coastal Commission appealable jurisdiction. The project is proposing to demolish the existing cottage on site and construct 5 condos proposed between 2 structures. Both structures would be 3 stories with rooftop decks, and only 1 parking space is proposed per unit, as opposed to the 10 parking spaces or 2 parking spaces per unit required by the code. And that is due to the fact that they are utilizing AB 2097, which is state law that preempts a local minimum parking requirement. The table on the screen shows the unit mix of the project. So building A would have 3 units, 2 market rate units, and the very low income deed restricted unit. Building B would have just 2 market rate units. The 4 market rate units all have 3 bedrooms and range in size from 1,600 square feet to 1,900 square feet. whereas the very low income unit is 660 square feet with one bed. The replacement requirement is coming from SB 8, which was codified into Government Code 66300.6, which says that protected units must be replaced at an equivalent affordability level. There's a handful of criteria for what is considered a protected unit, but units that are occupied, I believe, the past 5 years by lower income families are considered protected. This site met that criteria, so it needs to provide a replacement unit of equivalent size, meaning the same bedroom as demolished. The existing cottage is around 500 square feet with one bedroom. Proposed unit would also have one bedroom with slightly more floor area. I want to also clarify that the project is not electing to utilize density bonus, and that would have required the very low income unit to be of a comparable size, comparable floor area to the market rate units. Staff has reviewed the project and found it to be consistent with all applicable codes, regulations, and policies. The project was consistent with the general plan and its policies for smart growth, infill, transit-oriented development, affordable housing, land use compatibility. The project was also found to be consistent with the local coastal program and California Coastal Act, and with its architectural compatibility, and that it would not impact coastal access. The project is compliant with the zoning ordinance and the applicable development standards of the D5 subdistrict of the downtown, with the one caveat of parking. They are protected under AB 27. The project is also consistent with the downtown residential design guidelines and its provisions for site design, site layout, access, height, massing, scale, and architecture. The project has complied with the city's enhanced notification policy, and to date, no public correspondence has been received for the project. So staff is recommending that the Community Development Commission approve the project as proposed. That concludes my presentation, and the applicant is in the audience. I don't know if they have a presentation as well, but I'll be available for questions.
Right, thank you. And so you do have the applicant here? Wishing to speak?
No presentation from the applicant.
All right. So this is a time for the council to hear from the public, and I'll send it over to Mr. Navarro.
Thank you. We have one speaker registered on this item, AJ Cates. Oh, pass? Okay.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to address the council on this specific item in person? I see no one raising their hand or rising. So could you please ask the same question?
If you're on Zoom and wish to speak on this item, please press *9 to raise your hand. And I see no speakers on Zoom.
All right. So to the council then. Deputy Mayor Joyce.
Thank you, Mayor. Could staff, I don't think you touched it, but can you just explain why this is not covered in our inclusionary housing ordinance that requires a certain amount of affordable when people build?
Minimum of 7, right? Isn't it minimum of 7 or is it 10?
Councilmember Joyce and Honorable Mayor, I believe the 7-unit threshold you're referring to is the current threshold for when inclusionary kicks in. This project submitted an SB 330 application under the previous rules. So that was a 3-unit threshold, so they are applicable. Inclusionary housing requirements are applicable to this project. With that said, they are reserving 1 unit for very low-income households, so staff has considered that to meet their inclusionary requirement.
Could you explain why they're allowed to do a small unit compared to the rest of them, other units? Because this is about 660 square feet. The others are 1,600 plus square feet, if I'm right? 1,900 even?
Certainly. So that is correct. The standard for inclusionary housing units is to match the bedroom count of the market rate units. So in this case, that would be a 3-bedroom unit, which would likely be larger. In this case, they are providing a unit at a deeper level of affordability, and in the inclusionary housing ordinance, there is discretion afforded to the city to allow that, as long as they consider it an upgrade.
As long as they consider an upgrade?
Yeah, so there are alternative methods of compliance afforded to applicants. They're not guaranteed, but off-site units, preserving existing affordable housing, rehabilitating housing, and reserving that. So there's other options that they can propose. Here, they're proposing to reserve 1 unit for affordable housing on site like normal. It's just going to be smaller, but at a much bigger subsidy.
Could I ask a question about the interplay between our inclusionary, which is a requirement of the city, and then the preservation, right? Those are 2 separate things that the builder is required to comply with. I guess it's interesting that they could use the preservation of a unit and then use that as their inclusionary. I wasn't aware that was that you could do both with the same exact unit, because you're kind of skirting our rules, which are to, when you build new units, you include new affordable units, but this is actually just keeping it flat because it's just replacing one that's being torn down. So I'm a little concerned about the double use of this unit, and if I could just have some explanation around that.
So the law does allow for replacement housing, like in density bonus law, for example, replacement housing. You can utilize the same unit to a replacement housing unit to satisfy the affordable housing requirements of density bonus. What makes this project a little bit different is that when you're looking at the 3 different laws, right? Replacement housing, density bonus, inclusionary housing. When you're doing the project with density bonus, there are a lot more restrictions. Our ordinance is actually a little bit more flexible in understanding that it can take quite a financial subsidy to provide the affordable housing. And therefore allows for some level of flexibility, such as preservation, such as buying credits, et cetera. If you're doing it with density bonus, not allowed, absolutely not allowed. In the case of this 1 unit, under the ordinance, because it's a for sale product, you could actually provide a unit at a moderate income level. They are proposing to bring it down to a very low income household, albeit it's a smaller size unit, but a great difference in affordability. So like for a very low income home ownership opportunity, this would be, they'd be paying $1,300 a month in mortgage payment, equating to almost maybe $80,000, $90,000 in purchase price. So that's a significant benefit that we would see out there in the market, and hence why we would recommend doing an alternative like this than actually requiring it to be like for like.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll open up to hear from my colleagues. I'm not sure that this satisfies our inclusionary rate as I appreciate it. And I think there is a chance that the parking waivers right near a coastal access space could be a problem for our local coastal program. So I look forward to hearing from my colleagues.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? I was concerned about the same thing, that we're double counting the same unit. You do bring out a point that we don't tend to ever see very low. And we have not met our RENA numbers for very low. And now we have another category that's been added, which is even lower than that. I forget what it's called. Very low. Extremely, okay.
Acutely low income.
Yeah, and those haven't been added to our inventory yet either. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? All right, well, I am bothered by that, but I don't see any very low units coming on board. And I think what we're talking about is potentially one unit. I'm not really sure. I hope I'm not catching what you have. I'm not really sure, because you are sick, right? Anyway.
I've had a cough for weeks.
Okay. We are, no, you're not dying. We are talking about one extra unit, and we are going to be seeing more units coming on, right? How many units? It's 3 projects, right, within the next year to year and a half? 3 projects.
Yes, we have our 3 projects that we have financially assisted, and that's about, probably about 300 plus units,
Right, 300
all
plus.
under construction.
Right. So, and they'll be able to be counted in this cycle, right? 29, yeah. Okay, I know that we need to address the very low, so I am going to go ahead and support this reluctantly, but I think we have to take them when we can have them. And so I'm going to go ahead and move staff's recommendation. Is there a second? All right. And I don't see any other requests to speak from the dais, so I'm going to go ahead and ask for the vote.
Motion approved, 3-1. Joyce, no.
Thank you. All right, next we have the item number 30, which is advanced written request to reserve time to speak. We did hear from Mr. Ernst. Ken Layton, still here? No? Oh, there he is, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You know, there's a lot that's right with the City of Oceanside right now, but if you ask anybody what is the worst thing that's happening right now, I guarantee you're going to get 100%. It's those prison-like condo complexes, like the one right across from In-N-Out or the one on Oceanside Boulevard near Crouch. And you'll just ask people, you'll find out that they're horrible, nobody wants them, and they're not even affordable. So how does this happen? Well, basically, they get approved by the Planning Commission and or the City Council. So Oceanside clearly does have a history of pay-to-play, and that's where, you know, if you want something done, you have to donate to a City Council member. It's part of our history, just like prostitutes and gangs, but unlike prostitutes and gangs, they've sort of subsided, but we still have pay-to-play. And there are still pay-to-play transactions apparently going on. And that's why the state implemented something called the Levine Act, and it started applying to city councils across the state of California. And what it says is that if you're a council member and you get $500 or more, you can't vote on a certain project for the developer who gave you that money for 12 months. Now, the only thing worse I would suggest than a developer who develops all these hideous projects in Oceanside would be, in my view, a guy by the name of Howard Jacobs, who is a developer who doesn't develop anything. Look at the top of, a Pierview Way up there on Horn Street. There's that lot that's been vacant for years. He got approved by the city council, this hideous prison building that has like 200 or 300 square foot boxes with no windows. And it's such a hideous joke. he can't sell it to any other developer who wants to come on board. Then there's the joke, the Breeze, which is a bunch of stacked metal bins that sit on pylons. And he got it approved by the city council, but it's not going anywhere because he's not going to develop it and he can't sell it to anyone. So the Howard Jacobs scams are still happening, and God knows why, but they still are getting approved by the city council. And so that brings us to Howard Jacobs, and I reviewed how much money he has given the city council over the years, and as it turns out, he has given $9,900 to Rick Robinson, even though Mr. Robinson has only been in office for one term, yet he's gotten almost $10,000 from this Howard Jacobs guy. And I'm sure, sir, that you're not violating the letter of the Levine law, but clearly, I think the spirit of the Levine law is getting violated, and this has a real bad stench, if you ask me. Why else would Howard Jacobs give Rick Robinson $9,900 if he didn't want some transaction reaction to happen? And I would ask, sir, that all you need to do is simply say, you can give me as much money as you want, Mr. Jacobs, but I'm never going to vote on any of your projects. I think that would be a great idea, sir, and that would clear the air. Also, you've taken $1,000 from David Fishbach, who is the short-term rental antichrist here in Oceanside. And I know that Ryan Keim, when he ran for mayor, he wouldn't take any money from Mr. Fishbach. I know that Mr. Figueroa, when he ran for council, he wouldn't take any money from Mr. Fishbach. But here you are, sir, also taking money from David Fishbach. And I think it's a sad state of affairs. If your whole candidacy is based on taking money from these people that want to do business in Oceanside, even if you're not breaking the letter of the law, I would suggest, sir, simply backing away from doing any
Thank you.
promises. Thank you.
Next is Larry Warner. There's the other podium.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. First of all, I'd like just to thank the police department for the night out last night. I took 2 of my grandkids there, had a great time, getting all those stamps, booth after booth after booth. It was great seeing Jimmy get dunked, Chief getting dunked, so well worth the price of admission. I'm here tonight because 4 years ago, this council said we need a SOC, we need a standing oversight committee. We need to have oversight of the civilian complaints that are being investigated by the OPD. And that started a whole series of discussions that eventually led to the development of the Standing Oversight Committee. And at the time, it wasn't ideal, but it was a start. And at the time, we talked about 4 things that needed to happen as it was promised to continue to evolve, to develop. One was the need for greater diversity on the SOC and greater community involvement. Another was creating a level of independence of the SOC from the OPD. Another was the need to have a process in place to be used by the SOC when they disagreed with the findings of the OPD's investigation. 4 years later, nothing has been done in any of those areas. In fact, I would say, based on the decisions that were made in June, we are not moving forward, we are moving backward. We're moving away from accountability and transparency into something that is an illusion of those things and disrespectful to the community in which we are serving, which we are living. The 4 decisions I refer to are, one was 2 former OPD employees were going to be turned out so they could be replaced by community members. That motion was brought before you. and you decided to continue to have them serve on the OPD for 3 more years. Former OPD employees. This is a public perception of bias, personal bias and institutional bias. The second one was the PFC's choice of a former OPD employee to chair the commission. The commission, chair of the commission. The chair has authority and responsibility and controls things. That's not a good look. Again, it doesn't match. I mean, it betrays a personal bias, can betray a personal bias and institutional bias. The third was the PFC's own choice to have 50% of the people sitting on the Standing Oversight Committee, the committee responsible for overseeing OPD's investigations, to be former OPD employees. Now, I've been told that that's going to be changed, because they actually brought that up here, but they still proposed it. It still was going to go through unless somebody said something. That doesn't bode well for accountability and transparency, but speaks more, again, to bias. The fourth thing is a proposal that was put forth by the city attorney at the last PFC meeting about, well, it's entitled Standing Oversight Committee Case Review Procedures Supplement the Police Fire Commission Bylaw. Now, if you read through that thing, it is eradicating the oversight opportunities and responsibilities of the SOC. It's changing it from an oversight saying, hey, we don't agree with this decision, to a quality control board. Did we cross our T's? Did we dot our I's? That's not what the Standing Oversight Committee was designed to do. It's not what it was promised to do for our community. We need real oversight of the Oceanside Police Department, especially in these days when they're wanting to do more electronic surveillance, have flock cameras. If we can't trust them, if they're going to make the SOC just another one of their guards against the community, alongside the union, alongside their own way they do things, alongside the city attorney, we need to just call it what it is. That's just a farce. We need to step up and have the SOC be the SOC. And the PFC hasn't done anything over these 4 years. I would ask you to encourage them.
Thank you, Mr. Warner.
To expand the SOC.
Thank you, Mr.
As we've
Warner.
talked about before.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we have 6 items under item 31. By the way, we do not have term limits for commissioners. So, but I wouldn't mind, it's a conversation been having of establishing term limits. So hopefully we can get to that. But anyway, item number 31, we've got 6 requests to speak on items not on the agenda, starting with Sharon Strong, followed by Mary Ellen Reese, followed by Jimmy Knott.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Sharon Strong, and I've been an educator in the Oceanside Unified School District for 40 years. I'm here to speak in support of KOCT tonight, as they've been an invaluable part of my teaching experience. Our relationship began over 33 years ago when I became tired of seeing my city and my school portrayed in a negative light. I applied and received a grant from KOCT. Yes, they did have money in those days. And we used my talented speech team to produce Pirate Treasure, which highlighted the sunken treasure in our school and community. Later that year, Pirate Treasure received the National Human Relations Media Award for its alternative and positive programming. Since then, my students and I have served as community producers for KOCT's Inside Oceanside, Oceanside Spectrum, and countless live sporting and academic league events, where students bonded together as reporters, camera operators, technical directors, floor managers, and more. KOCT has trained countless students and interns from all over North County High School and college and provided a springboard to industry careers. My own son, Nathan Strong, was a KOCT intern who later worked for Sony Pictures and now is at Apple Studios. And while it's great to use the iPhone, as he will brag about, as a production tool, career technical education requires that students keep abreast of the state-of-art industry equipment, and KOCT attempts to do this. KOCT has a great presence in our community. They cover the parades, the Christmas tree lighting, both high school graduations, and even the burning of the Oceanside Pier. Other cities simply do not have this resource. Recently, Mayor Sanchez said at the Arts Commission meeting that other communities get by on a $50,000 budget doing what KOCT does for less. Perhaps she's talking about covering city council meetings with robotic cameras. I'm not sure. Our community needs to know that this valuable resource is in danger of folding. Former KOCT Executive Director Tom Reeser warned of the decreasing PEG funding, and while KOCT continues to bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars through grants and projects, what they need is unrestricted funding that is not attached to more production work. We need to return to the table for a new conversation, and I invite the city to join us. One year, one of my favorite administrators, Dan Darris, called me in and he said, "I hear you're personally paying for the art teacher to paint murals for your musical." He continued, "This is not for you to do alone. This is my problem and I'll find a way to cover it." It is in the same way, this is not just KOCT's
Thank you very
problem.
much.
It's a community
Thank you.
resource.
Mary
and a
Ellen
community
Reese,
problem.
followed by Jimmy Knott, followed by Christina Meno.
Hi there. Honorable Mayor and council member. First, thank you for your service to the people of Oceanside. Now, I know it's not pleasant listening to us all the time. And now that we're at the end of the agenda, trust me, I feel your pain. Anyway, when I was last here, I brought up the disproportionate burden that sales taxes put on those of limited income. Tonight, there's another reason that I am hoping that people will not pass this half-cent sales tax
That's the next
increase.
item. Is that what you're talking about?
Pardon?
Are you wishing to talk about the sales tax?
Yes.
Okay, that's the next item.
Oh, God. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Almost there. Jimmy Knott, followed by Christina Meno.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sharon Lane. Earlier, you heard about the car care event that's going on August 19th. Also on August 19th, you have the Senior Transportation Resource Fair up at El Corazon. And that's going to be going on from 10 to 12:30. So another event on that day, which leads to another event, which will be in the evening, evening, which will be the city council, which will be coming up with the potential of this reestablishment of the senior commission, which is changing names potentially to the Commission on Aging. So I would encourage everyone to show up for it. But I would also like to point out that the senior centers into our city have been beneficial to the community during this time period, and also even now, that we have had excess of heat, and that is there are cooling centers along with our library. And this is definitely needed. And the reason why I bring that up is very simply, I discovered that while on a walk here in Oceanside with a friend. I had heat exhaustion. Then I discovered a new word called syncope, which is right before heat stroke. I ended up over at the fire station I had to be transported over to Tri-City, where I spent 5 hours. And I had to take and go through all the tests and everything after it settled out. I was told by the doctors there, my doctor there, very simply, you needed to drink more water, you needed to be out of the sun and out of the humidity. You shouldn't be walking at your age during that time period. You're not as young as you used to be. I thought I was 20 again, I guess. So once again, a little bit of a lesson I learned even at 71 years old. So I would like to share that with the rest of the world. Thank you for that lesson.
Thank you. Christina Meno, followed by Aaron Morin, followed by Diane Wilkie.
Mayor, Deputy, Council, staff, citizen. Thank you for your attention. Oceanside adopted a climate action plan 7 years ago, and I can find little online evidence of results in our community toward those goals. In contrast, Chula Vista publishes a sustainability dashboard with annual data graphed and broken down by target and department for each year since 2020. The data from Copernicus estimates that we are 4 years away from 1.5 degrees Celsius rise in global surface temperature, which is 5 times faster than was projected during the Paris Accords in 2015. NASA agrees the last 10 years were the warmest on record, and climate.gov, rest in peace, reported in 24. The rate of warmth during my lifetime, the rate of warmth change during my lifetime is 3 times faster than the rate in the last 175 years. So of course the Fed shut that. Council, I invite you to help imagine and deliver a better future for the next generation of Oceansiders, who will say of us, their ancestors, when it came time to act to protect the continued complex life on Earth, we had the tools, the will, and the courage. You can start by making results toward CAP goals obvious and accessible for me and my fellow citizens. Peace and solidarity.
Thank you, Aaron, followed by Diane Wilkie.
Hi, I hope you guys had a good summer break. I'm glad you guys are back in business. My name is Erin Morin, and Council Mayor. Today, I was looking at a newspaper article, and it was talking about the data centers. Yeah, we definitely need to get together on the data centers, and we definitely need to talk to the Water Authority because they were saying, oh, you can mitigate a data center. No, you can't. Can't mitigate the water. How much water will that data center be sucking out from the state of California? How much energy prices are going to go up? And what's the impact? It's huge. And I've been watching it. I've been watching independent media, but they've been talking a lot about these city council meetings that are going on across the country. They're actually some people in Georgia are losing their homes because they got to put the energy source into these data centers. You have really got to do your research, and I hope that we can have somebody from the Water Authority to see what they're thinking and how they're gonna, what's San Diego County gonna do, or what's the state gonna do? We just don't know, and I'm hoping that we can get a mandatorium or something going for the state, because the state can't do it. We have too many restrictions, we have too many laws, and I'm just hoping that something will come through. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane Wilkie. And do we have anyone online who wishes to address the council?
We do not have any Zoom speakers on this item.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. I'm Diane Wolke, a 23-plus year resident of D2. and I'm here to talk to you about issues of concern with the Crown Heights Community Center. My understanding is that synthetic turf is going in there again. It's in the California Coastal Commission LCP zone, and which requires the planning department to have a conversation with the Coastal Commission about these plans. This is not consistent with the LCP or the coastal permit zones. I would refer you to the plastic pollution report put out by the California Coastal Commission on the 24th of October of 2025. You will see synthetic turf cited, I believe it's 53 times. This is a new policy. And also, I'd like to point out what's coming down the line is microplastic pollution. I gathered that in under 5 minutes. That you are contributing to climate change, loss of biodiversity. You are polluting our beaches and our oceans. There is toxic runoff from this product. It is not consistent with Oceanside's CAP, with its sustainability plans, or with its zero waste plans. None of it. This needs to stop. It needs to get quit being snuck in various places around Oceanside. The state now has 6 cities that have ordinances on synthetic turf. Some are outright full bans, other are variations on that theme. This is also an EJSJ community, which I can imagine the health status in that community because I worked in that community for 30 years as an advanced practice nurse and public health nurse. I can imagine that the health status in that community has only deteriorated under this federal administration. We need to stop harming people and planet. This is a significant public and environmental health risk. And I'm asking you to please, no more synthetic turf, not at Crown Heights, not anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. So actually, we do have city clerk updates. Mr. Navarro?
Thank you. So tonight is our first SB 707 meeting. Prior to this meeting, the assistant city clerk and I have been talking with other clerks around the county and throughout the state of California to look for best practices for SB 707. Tonight's kind of like our quiet rollout because we didn't have that much of a packed agenda. But as meetings go on, we will be looking for ways to improve the process. I've been meeting with other clerks on other ways to streamline city council meetings, whether it's agenda setting, dealing with council member items, even some cities have like a public forum for consent calendar items. So we'll be bringing back some proposed changes. We're also looking at SB 707 legislation changes that were put into effect prior to this meeting, but as of today, we've met all of our legal obligations for SB 707. We're going to take feedback as it comes in. We are taking notes on what's working, what's not working, and probably 6 months from now, we'll come forward to the council with any possible changes. But any feedback, feel free to email the city clerk's office at cityclerk@oceansideca.org. And we will be glad to take any feedback regarding SB 707. And we're always happy to help out individuals. And we're taking lots of notes right now, what's working and what's not working. So we'll make adjustments as needed.
The changes to 707 had more to do with different languages.
That is correct.
For reports, is that correct?
Well, we have on our Legistar, we do have a translation services on our Legistar that automatically translates staff reports, the agenda, into any language that the user wants to translate it into, whether it's Spanish, Tagalog, Vietnamese, or Chinese, which are according to the ROV, the languages of Oceanside. We do have that capability right now that launched. And we are posting the agenda both in English and in Spanish, and we were able to do that successfully with this agenda. And so we've been meeting all of our legal obligations to this. Our next step is to do some more community outreach, both on the agenda as well as how to register to speak for city council meetings.
I think you mentioned that the contract that you have entered into we'll be able to do some other changes that will be beneficial?
That is correct. So part of that, which is our Legistar system, is for real-time closed captioning, both in English and in Spanish. So if we do have a speaker who speaks Spanish, they could watch the Legistar session on their phone with the live Spanish translation that will occur. And that is something that we will definitely be bringing back to council.
All right, thank you. So anyone suggesting recommendations should contact you?
Yes,
The city
I'm
clerk's
all
office.
about feedback, and any feedback generated, I will listen to.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the dais? Okay, great, yeah. Next is item 32. Staff recommends City Council adopt an ordinance adding Chapter 34, Article 2, Division 3, Section 34.7.1 through 34.7.17 to the Oceanside City Code to establish a temporary 1/2 cent general transactions and use sales tax to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, including provisions for citizens' oversight and accountability. And understand that there are 3 requests to speak.
4, because we added Mary Ellen Reese to that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, and is there a presentation first before we hear from the public on this? No, right? Okay. So we're going to start with, I'm sorry, sir, we're calling another item. Are you?
Can I ask a question?
No, sorry.
I was under the impression that you would ask if there were other constituents who wanted to speak during the non-agenda items.
No, actually, we have new rules that we have to follow.
That's only during public hearings, but not during the non-agenda items?
That's correct. Everything else has to be submitted prior to the call of the consent calendar in order to be, provide equal access, equal treatment to those who wish to address the council via Zoom.
Understood. That was not made clear to me. I apologize.
Thank you. Jimmy Knott, followed by Aaron Morin, followed by Diane Nygaard.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. Last night, I had an exciting evening. I had one of my neighbors, and in fact, a couple of neighbors and I got together, and we discussed this issue about a pending tax increase. And it was unanimous, no, because there's a lot of questions that are involved. Increases in salaries was really a #1 issue. Why wasn't it brought before the voters? Why is it that the voters are being constantly ignored? You know, there's a separate world out there where voters are ignored, and you pretend like you're being elected and you can make all the decisions, and the voters have no say-so. Tax was the word that was used. One area that was considered was a temporary occupancy tax. And also Prop X was brought up, a few other things. There's a need to disclose all collections, expenditures, and beneficiaries. The city, according to all, not just this one small little group, but a lot of people in our city has not met the burden of proof. You have a lot of income. You have a lot of needs. You have expenditure. You have beneficiaries. None of this has been fully disclosed or discussed. There's a few of us that come to the meetings and we see what's going on. We see how it's being spent. We see how everything that's, happening. We see who's benefiting, what companies, what everything else, the exchanging of how the funds are being benefited to certain companies, and certain companies are not taking and being benefited. So the question is, what is being disclosed? What isn't? Who's being selected? Who isn't? There's a lot of things, and it's not being met. We don't need this tax until all the burden of proof is met.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. Thank you. Ms. Moran, followed by Diane Nygaard, followed by Mary Ellen Reese.
Hi again, Erin Morin. I just want to say one thing. Esther, when you named the list of all these projects that we have to do, the top two ones that got my attention were the levees and the pier. Those two are going to be your biggest expenses. You are going to need that tax because you're not going to have enough in the general fund to get to where we need for right now in this economy. And I understand people don't want to hear about this. But sometimes we got bigger issues because the levees, when you said that they weren't working, how much of it was failing? Because the winter that's coming down the pike is El Niño's, the super El Niño, and that storm, and then it floods your streets, it floods everything in sight. Who's gonna clean it up? Is our system even ready for this kind of thing if they fail? So I think people need to understand that this tax is really important, that we put that to our massive infrastructure, not hiring people, not trucks, none of that, just to your top two most vital structures. And am I correct? It was $2 million was given to you through the federal funding, or when you went to?
For the pier.
For the pier.
Right.
So it's just for the pier and not for the levees?
No, just $2 million for the pier. We have saved $20 million.
Okay.
But we're looking at $60 to $70 million.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, then there's the answer. Where are we going to come up with 60 to 70 extra $1 million? Where? Are we going to look under the couch? Are we going to look at the federal government and say, hey, do you have 60? No. You know what's happening? Trump is playing war. Trump is over with Netanyahu playing war and spending our money. When the hell is that money going to come back? Never. It's never coming back. We're going to be stuck in this situation for quite a long time until somebody can get us out of this hole and stop playing war.
Billions of dollars.
Yeah, billions of dollars. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Next, Diane Nygaard, followed by Mary Ellen Reese.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. It is not too late to say no to the second half-cent sales tax. Have you forgotten we just passed the half-cent sales tax? It will raise $200 million over the next 10 years. You have no expenditure plan for that $200 million, and now you want to double it. Please think about those 5,000 families you heard about earlier tonight sitting in our Section 8 waiting list, and all of the other families in this community who are struggling with this current economy. Now is not the time to burden the good people of Oceanside with another tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ellen Reese.
Continuation. Okay, I am here to ask you guys to quit pushing for this half-cent sales tax increase. And I'm asking the people of Oceanside not to approve it. This tax, the method is not good. This tax increase is another bait and switch tactic where all kinds of things that we want are listed as targets. But if approved, the money will go into the general fund where you can spend it any way you like. Nothing is guaranteed. The best bait is that money will be used to fix our chopped up road again. That's how the Measure X tax got extended. People, ask yourself this: why would they fix our small neighborhood roads when they get tax hikes by claiming that's what they'll use the money for? General fund money is not going to get those roads fixed or sand kept on our beach. So where might the additional tax money be spent if we approve it? There was a suggestion about a new police palace on a hill in El Corazon. But there was an agreement that the development of El Corazon was supposed to generate revenues for Oceanside. The police are an expensive cost, not a revenue source. So please don't think about building a new police station on El Corazon. We don't have a major crime problem here, and the criminals we do have don't hang out in El Corazon. Finally, to the people of Oceanside, this is a fraught election year. I hope you are watching these council meetings. You have a job to do as a member of a democracy, and that is to inform yourself about the issues and people asking to rule over your lives. Americans have done a poor job of voting to protect our democracy. Half of us qualified to vote don't even bother to do so. For all our sakes, do your jobs. November could well be your last chance.
Thank you very much. That's all the speakers. And this item is about adding this to the ballot so that the people, the residents, the voters of Oceanside will speak on this. So this is absolutely transparent. And what I want to say here now is this is, and I've been on the council for 26 years, and I do feel that I have a reputation for speaking the truth and being as transparent as possible and demanding transparency and from all of us, from here, us on the dais, as well as staff. And I think staff is doing a pretty darn good job. In fact, I really think that we are the best. Every city is having these challenges. I am very proud of the city that we were able to pass a balanced budget and we did not have to go into reserves. However, we are an aging city. We have aging infrastructure and we have needs. We have critical needs. We have, and that is all that this is about, infrastructure. And the way it is, has been structured and has been explained on that will be on the ballot is that this is for, and this is the city's promise, our promise that this is going to go towards infrastructure projects. The City of Oceanside has won the support of the San Diego Taxpayers Association's approval and endorsement of this ballot measure. And we all know that the San Diego Tax Association doesn't do anything lightly. They have a whole 2 pages reasons of why they supported this and maybe one other and not others. I believe the other one was City of El Cajon. And it is because of our transparency. It is because of a history of being stewards, keen stewards of the citizens' money, the tax dollars. I invite you to go to their website and look at that. It just came out yesterday, and very, very surprised and happy that we were able to get their endorsement. And these are highly critical projects. Again, the pier, the concrete part of the pier, she's turning 100 next year. She was only meant to go to 100, and she is crumbling, and she's becoming a public safety issue. And I'm hoping that we are shovel-ready within a year, year and a half. We're working on the final permits, and we've just got to get it done. We also have problems with the San Luis River Flood Control Project. And the biggest issue is not just flooding, although, yeah, that would really, really do a lot of harm, a lot of damage to residents, especially mobile home parks, and we still have to pay flood insurance there. But the biggest issue during the rainy season, and we could have, and I want to say beginning of the 2000s, we were concerned that we could lose a couple of bridges because of the flash floods that come straight from the mountains down, and they're flash floods. They happen very, really quickly. So we're really, really concerned about having a couple of our bridges taken down because of the trees that are in the riverbed. We also have a police station that we desperately need to be replaced. It was only supposed to be where it is now for 10 years. We're going on over 30 years, and we're not fixing that. We're not doing anything to improve it. You wouldn't put a new roof on a house that you think that you're going to be leaving in 2 or 3 years. You wouldn't be making those kind of really bad investments. So we really, really need a police station. We need to address our sea level rise and our sand and protection of our infrastructure down on the beach. We really need to make sure that we're in a position to be able to do that. We also have Fire Station 8. These are projects that are very, very critical projects. We have a reporter that was down on the beach yesterday who interviewed me, but before interviewing me, he interviewed random folks down there, and actually the majority of them were saying that they supported the tax because because they see what the city's been doing, and they know that it takes that, and it's 50 cents on $100. It will not tax essentials like groceries, diapers, prescriptions, medication, and feminine hygiene, none of that. In fact, 60 to 70% of it will be paid for by visitors to Oceanside. I don't think any of us would have wanted to pick this time to do this, but we do have a commitment to the public that we will keep the public safe. So I want to make sure, however, that everyone understands the reason why we're moving forward today on this and why we need it. We really, really need it. Deputy Mayor Joyce?
Thank you. I just want to second that, yes, we have very extensive infrastructure needs, including critical ones like the levees. For my part, I just want to reiterate that I'm not going to sugarcoat my feelings on this, that I wish we had an equity-based revenue measure before us, but instead we have the sales tax measure, which we know disproportionately hits the working poor of the city. And it's unfortunate, and I wish we had better options in front of us. So I am going to continue to vote yes here and allow Oceansiders to weigh the arguments for and against the needs and the imperfection that they are going to see on the ballot. And I'd also remind folks that, yes, this does go into general fund, but your council is the one that's going to hold true to the commitment. And so make sure that you're voting for the council that shares your values and that you believe will stay true to that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Robinson.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't want to drag this out, but I'm sitting here thinking that, and you guys went over everything, but I think I have to address the transparency thing, because every meeting, individuals get up, and it's your right to do it, and talk about things, the transparency, and we're not being honest. And I will tell you, I believe this city has taken every step to be transparent. We have a website that explains things. City staff's available to explain things. We can show you the records. Our budget's available to anybody. You can make an appointment to sit down with city staff, and if you have budget questions, and they'll walk you through it if you don't understand it. I think this thing that we're hiding something or we're not asking the questions or answering the questions. If you're not getting the answers to your questions, I would suggest that you ask them in a place where we can answer them. And I, for one, and I think I speak for everybody that sits up here, will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So with the finance director, so with the city manager, we're all here. Every single penny that is generated, tax, either property tax, sales tax, TOT, all of it goes towards providing services to our community. Every single penny. And I think that we can't compare with Carlsbad. They probably generate almost twice as much as we do for a much smaller population. But what we do here in Oceanside is we have a spirit of volunteerism. We stretch our dollars, and I am very proud of our city that we do so much on so little money. I move that we adopt the ordinance. And is there a second? All right, there's a second. And please title the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside, adding Chapter 34, Article 2, Division 3, Sections 34.7.1 through 34.7.17 to the Oceanside City Code to establish a temporary 1/2 cent general transaction and use sales tax to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, including provisions for citizens' oversight and accountability, and to clarify the effective date only upon approval of the ballot measure by a majority of voters at the November election.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. On to Councilmember, General Councilmember comments. Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have two things, well, three. I just want to thank the police department for a National Night Out yesterday. It was a great event. Got to see a lot of the council there, staff there, officers off duty there with their families, a lot of our nonprofit organizations enjoying their time serving our community, and just seeing so many family members. So I know it took a lot of coordination to see all those vendors out there, so I can only imagine the staff that worked behind the scenes to put that together. So just thank you to the police department for putting that together. It was a great community event. And in that spirit of thanking city staff, I want to thank the Parks and Rec department for all of the work that you guys did to host all of the family and community events this past July or summer. I literally felt like I was seeing the staff every day. And, you know, as we're getting there, enjoying it, they've already been there for hours, and they've been committed and investing a lot of time to making that event take place. And then as we're getting ready to leave those events, you still see them there, and you know that they're going to stay for many more hours. And one staff member in particular that I want to thank, and I think we all see his work, and that's Patrick Young, our special events administrator. Just to see the amount of work and literally the sweat. And if it was like he just stays busy at the event, sometimes you see him out there with the broom, other times you see him talking to the event coordinators. And the more time I've spent talking to Patrick and trying to understand how events are managed and implemented in the city, it's just the amount of more appreciation I have for everything he does and the events that he leads, and the reason why, I mean, we all enjoy Oceanside so much. And so definitely want to thank Patrick for that. And lastly, I do want to recognize a staff member here in the city of Oceanside. And I would like to ask council to join me in remembering a city employee and lifelong Oceanside resident, Jaime Jimmy Ramos. For more than 11 years, Jimmy served our city with dedication, but those who knew him well remember him most for his kindness, warm smile, generous heart, and the friendships he built throughout our organization, our city, and our community. Jimmy was a devoted son to Catalina, a loving father to Marcos, a proud grandfather to Manuel, a caring brother to Monica and Bobby, and a loyal friend to so many. He was born and raised in Oceanside. Many city employees grew up with Jimmy and his family, and to many, he was more than a coworker. He was a lifelong friend. He was also a dear friend to members of my own family, and he will always be remembered with great affection. And I would like to extend heartfelt condolences to Jimmy's family and loved ones. Jimmy passed on July 19th, just a couple weeks ago. A lot of you all knew Jimmy, saw him on the 3rd floor. He always talked about music. I remember one time he mentioned to me he was going to your brother's concert. I just asked him, I was like, Jimmy, what are you doing today? He was like, I'm gonna go see Zeb's brother play at somewhere in downtown, right? And so I know a lot of people knew Jimmy. The family asks if I can share. Jimmy's family invites everyone who knew him to a celebration of life for Jimmy on Sunday, August 30th from 4 to 8 p.m. And it will be at the Junior Seau Amphitheater. And this will be a tremendous opportunity to honor and celebrate Jimmy's life, the joy he brought to others, and keep his memory alive in our hearts.
Thank you. And we'll adjourn in his honor. Deputy Mayor Joy, before I move on to the Deputy Mayor, I believe, Councilmember Figueroa, you're the first council member to sacrifice himself to the dunk tank. So how many times did you get dunked?
Probably at least 25. Council member, our deputy mayor's son, Hux, he dunked me twice. There was a few people that, and then the focus, I was sharing this with the chief, like seeing the focus of people's eyes as they're trying to like dunk you. Yeah, it's kind of, it's intimidating. Yeah.
You wonder what's behind those, that face.
For sure, especially when you saw the parents, like, I want to try. And it's like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, no, it was good. It was fun.
So I know there's one person that will never be volunteering for that. Deputy Mayor Joyce.
It gets cold up there in the evening, yeah. Thanks for doing that. Huxley really is going to love remembering that one for a long time. Thank you also for sharing the memory of Jimmy. He was such a positive light around here. And I remember the last time we talked, which was not that long ago at all, he was sharing how much he loved getting outdoors. When he wasn't here working at the place that he loved, he also loved to be outside in his van that he'd been working on, and we just talked about how that's such a refilling space, and so he would definitely be missed. And so I appreciate you sharing all that with us. Just to add real quickly on less dire notes. I met with I was on the Transportation Committee for Sandag, and they are revisiting their senior transportation grant guidelines. And I know that our city offers tremendous volunteer senior transportation program. And so I hope that we'll weigh in and try and be a part of that grant moving forward, because I know that they do tremendous work, and I always hear positive responses on that. And then on August 15th, we have the Crown Heights Center reopening. And it's been a long-awaited reopening for the Crown Heights Center. I know the community cannot wait. The kids cannot wait to get in there. I can't wait to get in there and see it and have our first community meeting following the reopening. It's been a long time coming, and I know folks have been patient. So we're going to have a big street festival on the 15th. And I hope that you join us to celebrate the community and the center that will be there to serve them. I want to add that I appreciate Ms. Wolke's comments earlier, and that I agree that we should not be putting AstroTurf in those spaces, especially when children are going to be present there daily, and that instances of asthma and other breathing related problems are higher in neighborhoods that are under-resourced like Crown Heights. So I have big concerns about that. I'd like to have a memo about the decision or some kind of information at least to come back to us. If not, for my colleagues to support, maybe finding an alternative, more natural route.
Councilmember Robinson?
Thank you, and I won't rehash everything, but I just want to remind everybody out there that, so July is our dark month, no council meetings, and I won't run down this list, but there's a dozen things from Independence Day to National Night Out that your council, and I'm going to speak for all my members on the dais here because I see them at the same things that I go to, so it's not about just what I'm doing, but it's about what all of us are out there representing you, working for you. You don't see us up here for a month, but that's probably good. You probably deserve the break. But we are out in our communities, and we're doing our best to represent you and be out there and listen to you. So I want to thank the efforts of everybody up here. And I think that was all I had, so thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, I've been working on the Transportation Committee on several things to be able to ensure that City of Oceanside and other cities like our city are able to apply for grants, that the qualifications lend themselves to a city like ours to be able to apply. There are criteria that have been traditionally used that really end up focusing most of the fund recipients to south of 8. And so we've really been working hard to make sure, or I've been working hard to make sure that we adopt criteria that it's actually going to be more, fair. So, I want to say that my colleagues because once the Transportation Committee goes through it, then it goes to the board. And I'll say that all of my colleagues on the board have been very supportive of changing those rules so that we can all compete. But there are so many things coming up, and yes, I think I worked just as hard. I think we all worked just as hard during July, except for the council. We just missed a couple of council meetings is all. But we do have a backpack giveaway, and I think almost there are several of them going on to help kids get back to school with some things that they need. And the one at Joe Balderrama Park is Saturday the 8th, 11 to 3. And we're working with car clubs to make that happen as well. On the 15th, there is an Autumn Moon Festival at the arena from 10 to 3 p.m., and that is going to include Asian American nonprofit organizations like Vietnamese American Youth Alliance, Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association, Japanese American Citizens League. Very exciting to have this for the first time at the arena and actually in Oceanside. And of course, the grand reopening of Crown Heights Community Center, I'm just so very, very happy that we were able to, and I want to especially thank City Manager Mr. Borrego for making that happen. Because I know that I tend to, ask a lot of things and continue to ask. And one of the things that I was really concerned about was the building. When we got our ARPA funds, the $31 million, it was an opportunity to fix a building that really, you couldn't use it. You couldn't plug anything in without the whole thing going. And so to be able to restore it and to not only restore it, but improve it and have now air conditioning and electric and everything for another 100 years, that is so fantastic. And I thought that Phil Deal did an excellent story on it and the commitments that the city has had to the Crown Heights community through the various programs that we have there, along with having the resource center and having committing to, I think the lights are the next thing, right? All the things that they've asked us to do, we've been going through that list, and so I'm just very happy. So thank you very much, Mr. Borrego, and staff. Staff really took that on especially in engineering and public works, really took that on, and, it was obviously an act of love. So I really, really appreciate that. Also, on the 22nd, we have a conference by the California Indian Basket Weavers Association on Culture Fire. The Oceanside Fire Department is co-sponsoring, and as well as the library, and this is a excellent, excellent program that's going to be put on. This is the second time that they're doing it in Oceanside. And on the 29th, which is the last Saturday in August, we do have a celebration of life of Mayor Jim Wood. And that is 2 to 5. It's going to be at the community rooms, and we're really planning a really, really nice event. And I want to thank the City of Oceanside for helping to co-sponsor that as well. So, and then right after that is a concert in the park, 80s music at Jim Wood Park. And apparently he loved 80s music, so it's kind of, that wasn't coordinated, but, go to one thing and then you go to the other, and then you'll have a whole feeling, about Jim. So thank you very much. The next meeting is scheduled for August, 19th. So this meeting is adjourned, and in honor of Jimmy, thank you, please rise for a moment of silence. Thank you, meeting adjourned.